Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Judiciary Committee meeting for January 13th, 2023. Before we get started, I'd like to turn it over to our new Vice Chairman of the committee, Representative Quinn, to read the emergency instructions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and hopefully everyone will pay close attention to this. In the interest of safety, I would ask you to note the location of and access to the exits in this hearing room. The two doors through which you entered the room are the emergency exits and are marked with exit signs. In the event of an emergency, please walk quickly to the nearest exit. After exiting the room, proceed to the main stairs or follow the exit signs to one of the fire stairs. Please quickly exit the building and follow any instructions from the Capitol Police. Do not delay and do not return unless and until you are advised that it is safe to do so. In the event of a lockdown announcement, please remain in the hearing room, stay away from the exit doors, and seek concealment behind desks and chairs until the all clear announcement is heard.
Thank you, Representative Quinn. This is our first meeting of the term. And so when we start our committee meeting a little bit later, we'll introduce some of our new staff and the like. But I would like to, just to start this public hearing, certainly welcome back many of our returning members. I know there's a lot of folks who are returning to this committee from previous sessions. Certainly, I'm honored to be back co-chairing with my good friend, Senator Winfield, as well as our returning ranking members, Senator Kissel and Representative Fishbein, and would like to welcome some of the new members to this committee as well. And today we undertake one of our most important functions, which is the review of the governor's nominations for judicial branch positions. Anything to kick us off, Senator Winfield?
Good morning. That's about it.
All right. Like I said, we will make sure to introduce our new staff as we start our committee meeting a little bit later. But in the interest of getting through our list of nominees, I would invite up our first nominee to be a judge of the Superior Court, the Honorable Kevin C. Doyle of North Haven. Judge Doyle, if you could, before you sit, raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, that the information provided to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury? Thank you. Have a seat. Maybe we could get a little light on the witness there. I don't know if that's possible, but the judiciary in the dark might not be a good omen to start this with. But and if you could hit the button in front of you there to turn on your microphone. There you are. And if you have an opening statement, feel free to go ahead and make it.
Good morning, Senator Winfield, Representative Stastrom, Senator Kissel, Representative Fishbein. I want to thank you and all the members of the Judiciary Committee for taking the time to review my nomination. I am grateful to Governor Lamont for nominating me to a second term as a Superior Court judge. During my first term, I have handled criminal matters in the GA2 court in Bridgeport and at the judicial districts of Waterbury and Hartford. I've benefited from many people that have worked hard to help me succeed over the last 8 years. I would love the opportunity to continue working with them. I look forward to answering any of your questions.
Thank you. Representative O'Day of New Canaan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I just want to say hello to everybody, both here in person, thankfully, and also remotely. It's a pleasure to be back on Judiciary. And I do appreciate the hard work of the chairs and ranking members and vice chair. Mr. Doyle, Your Honor, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure seeing you here again. Now it's been 8 years. In going through your first term, what would you say would be a lesson you would give to someone who's taking their oath for the first time as a Superior Court judge? What would you recommend that they do that you did or didn't do and would like to see them take advantage of?
I think the most important thing is to be grateful for the position and be humble, recognize you're part of a team and work together, and you tend to reach the best results when you do that.
One of the questions that I tend to ask of all the prospective judges and current judges, Justice McDonald actually was the one that started it when he was chair of this committee, was the Robitis question. I know the answer to this, having known you for many years. And my understanding in my due diligence that there's never been any complaints that you suffer from the affliction of Robitis. But can you just tell those members of this committee who may not know you, how you can assure them that you would not suffer from the affliction of Robitis?
I think actions hopefully speak louder than words, but I've had many great mentors that would put me in my place if I ever suffered from that affliction. Justice Luby Harper, Judge Clifford, Judge Fasano, and most importantly, my mother. I'd have to answer to all of them. So I'm pretty comfortable in that regard that I don't think that'll be the problem you have with me.
And finally, as you may be aware, over the last few years, there have been some issues with judges not working 9 to 5, at least 9 to 5, and wherever they're assigned. Have you ever refused an assignment or complained about an assignment to the chief court administrator?
I try to avoid contact with the chief court administrator, but no, I've been very blessed to have a lot of great assignments with a lot of good people. So I've never seen that as being an issue. And for all of my colleagues that I work with, I've never seen that being an issue.
So as I understand, you're willing to work wherever you're assigned, at least 9 to 5 every day?
I'll do my best.
All right. Thank you very much. And thank you for your service, Judge Doyle. In doing my due diligence, I have heard nothing but positive things, and you're a credit to the bench, and appreciate your service to the state of Connecticut and the good citizens.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative O'Day. Further questions from the committee? Senator Kissel.
Thank you very much, Chairman Staffstrom. Judge Doyle, great to see you. I remember when you were before us 8 years ago. At that time, you were highly esteemed by then my leader, Senator Len Fasano. Tremendous reputation in the greater New Haven area. I have heard recently that held in the highest regard by Judge O'Keefe. There does seem to be some sort of Providence College connection going on out there. But if you could tell us, what was one of the most surprising things that you encountered? And maybe not necessarily in a great way, but we all have these, especially those of us who have practiced in the court system, be it criminal or civil. We have this notion of what's it like to be that person on the bench. But until you're there, you don't see everything from that perspective. And I'm just wondering what was sort of like a surprise to you and that you said, wow, I never knew it was going to be like this.
To start, I think sitting up in the bench in the beginning and seeing the whole crowd, lawyers, everyone looking at you, kind of waiting to see what happens, that was very intimidating at first. I had been a lawyer for many years and I had much more tunnel vision. You looked at the jury, you looked at the judge, and you tried to get through your case. So that view that you are now kind of the face to the public is really important to remember, and how you treat them. Simple acts of respect go a long way towards kind of keeping busy dockets moving. So those are some of the things I learned, but I think there's so many different credible experiences. One of the most unique and unusual was being at the GA2 court in Bridgeport the day that we had a shooting out in front of the courthouse. And seeing how people worked to that. We had marshals who were actually out in the field saving one of the people that was shot. I went out and the front area was set up like a triage room to an ER. And it was incredible how people came together. I think our Chief Justice and Judge Carroll were there within a half hour of the incident. Judge Alexander was the presiding judge. He'd come over immediately. And it was incredible to see how people worked under the most difficult and trying circumstances. So to be part of that, I always thought was pretty impressive.
Thank you. And I believe that this committee itself was here in the building around that time, if not that day, very much close to that day. I remember speaking in detail with Judge Carroll as to what took place. Thank God there wasn't more damage to people than there was. But certainly I think those folks in the judicial branch can take great solace in the fact that they responded so professionally and so quickly. And I've always said that I think that our judicial branch and our judges are the best in the country. And I've heard nothing but positive things about you, and I wish you the very best going forward. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator, and Judge Doyle, thanks for mentioning that. And I know it was an emotional and trying day in Bridgeport. I ended up swinging through there on my way back out of here on my way home that day, and certainly understand how difficult the day that was for everybody in the courthouse. So thank you for mentioning that. Representative Fishbein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Morning, Your Honor.
Morning, sir.
Judge, looking at your record over the last 8 years, you've been in criminal the entirety of the 8 years, correct?
Yes, I did do some minor civil during the pandemic to help out when our judge trial referee was out. So I did some short calendar motions like summary judgment, motions to strike for a short period of time. But yes, it's been all criminal.
Yeah, that's exactly my point. I know when I was a clerk a little over 20 years ago, it seemed like, judges were being moved around with like every 2 years. So they became multi-tools. So that when, we never envisioned the pandemic, of course, but when something happened, they could fill in a different area. I appreciate your record in criminal. I don't know if it's a cultural change that it appears like, certain judges are just staying in family, certain judges are just staying in criminal. Do you have any experience with regard to that? It seems over the last 10 years or so, that's changed a bit.
I think the most important thing is you have to be ready to go wherever you're needed. I've been lucky to be in criminal, but I feel with my background, I could go to other areas and you just kind of await your assignment and just be ready to go is kind of my view of it.
Yeah, I guess, hearkening back to my days as a clerk, you get a restraining order application at 4 o'clock on a Thursday and, for whatever reason, whoever in the building is perhaps never done one before, didn't have the experience, whatever. I'm just cognizant, but I appreciate everything you've done and your term on the bench, and congratulations on your renomination.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments from the committee? Seeing none, Judge Doyle, congratulations on your renomination and thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, next up will be, let's see, how do we pronounce this name? The Honorable Auden C. Grogins of Bridgeport. Judge Grogins, if you could raise your right hand for me,
I
please.
certainly will.
Do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, that the information you provide to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Go ahead, have a seat,
Thank
and you can give your opening statement whenever you're ready.
Good morning, Representative Staffstrom, Senator Winfield, Ranking Member Senator Kissel, and Representative Fishbein, and all the distinguished members of the Judiciary Committee. I first want to thank Governor Lamont for nominating me for a second term and for having his confidence in me to do that. I would like to thank all the members of this committee for giving me the opportunity to appear before you today and for considering my nomination for reappointment to the bench. Since the day of my initial appointment as a judge in January 2015, I have tried very hard to meet the expectations that this committee had for me. Being a Superior Court judge has been the highlight of my professional career, and every day I can tell you that I am grateful that I've been given the opportunity to serve. My first assignments as a judge were in the Hartford and Stamford GA courts, where I presided over the criminal, motor vehicle, and domestic violence dockets, as well as presiding over some criminal trials in Stamford. From September 2017 to August 2022, I served in the juvenile courts in both Waterbury and Torrington, presiding over child protection and delinquency cases. In September 2022, this past year, I was assigned to the GA22 in Milford, where I am currently presiding over the criminal, motor vehicle, and domestic violence dockets. Prior to my judicial appointment, I practiced law for 25 years as a sole practitioner, and I focused in my practice in the area of criminal defense. In 2008, I had the great honor of being elected as the state representative for the 129th district in Bridgeport. You know where that is, Representative Staffstrom, right?
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah. And I was elected as state representative and served as a member of the Connecticut General Assembly and the member of this committee until I was appointed to the bench in 2015. Outside of the courtroom, I participate in many volunteer events. I have served as a moot court judge and student mentor at Quinnipiac Law School, my alma mater, as I've served as a judge for the Connecticut Bar Foundation High School Essay Contest. I'm currently on the board of the Burroughs Community Center in Bridgeport. I participate every year in the Read Across America event. While I was a juvenile judge, I served as a member of the Waterbury chapter of the Racial and Ethnic Disparities Committee. And I am currently a member of the executive committee for the judicial branch. I would be deeply grateful for the opportunity to continue to serve the people of Connecticut for a second term as a Superior Court judge, and thank all of the committee members for considering my renomination to the bench. And I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you. Questions to committee. Senator Kissel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Judge Grogins, it's really great to see you.
It's
And
great to see you. Thank
as,
you.
as I had stated to Judge Doyle, it seems like yesterday that we were serving together on this committee. So that was one fast 8 years. Just a couple of things. And by the way, I really appreciate that opening statement. It was very well thought out, and
Thank you, sir.
you've certainly taken to heart what this committee has always urged, and that's like, it's great to be a judge. It's great to do everything that you're assigned, but also doing other things that are community oriented. Don't have to stop at that time as well. And you have that all covered. But as I had asked Judge Doyle, maybe something that after all those years of practice and serving in the legislature, now you're on the bench, something surprising and unusual. And the second part of my question, and I neglected to ask Judge Doyle, but you lived through this pandemic and how it's interfaced with the judicial branch. And I'm just wondering how that experience was as well. So those two things.
Okay, so something surprising to me was how scary it is for people coming into court and the judicial system, and that they're scared of me. And that's really surprising. And even though I think my background as a criminal defense lawyer gave me the tool to be able to handle people who are in very difficult situations and the emotions that they go through, and I think I'm very sensitive to that. I just being up on the bench, it's amazing how intimidated people are. And I noticed that from day one. And I experienced that, frankly, I'm nervous right now. And some people may be able to see that. Other people may find it astonishing because I was on this committee. I was a legislator. I appear before people as a judge every day, lots of people, but I'm very nervous. And I think that I'm really able to appreciate, I'm an empathetic person, what people go through when they come to court. And that's the last place they want to be probably. So that's the surprising thing. Living through the pandemic, it was tough, but it actually, in some ways, was a blessing. The judicial branch did an amazing job in being able, in creating a virtual system to allow people to be in court virtually, keep them safe and healthy, and allow us to continue to do our business during the pandemic. And I was in awe, and I'm still in awe, how they developed this system. I'm sure it wasn't overnight, but it seemed like it was overnight. It really worked so well, and people were able to, and it made it easier for people too, not just to keep them safe and healthy, but it made it easier for some people to appear virtually. So that was my experience, and it worked out really well, and we still keep a lot of those practices in place.
Well, I really appreciate those answers. And, you're just reaffirming why it was such a delight to serve with you when you were here in the legislature. And I'm going to be very honest, as much as I feel very comfortable on the floor of the Senate, and I feel comfortable on this side, there's going to be bill proposals, and I'm going to be over there. And I get nervous to this day coming and testifying before any committee. And I don't know what it is, but it's like I work with these guys, I should feel comfortable. And yet when you're on the other side, and so for a layperson, it's just got to be that much more. Yes, and I think that you raise a very valid point. I think Judge Carroll, Judge Bizzuto, I think for those involved with the judicial branch, they will recognize that Judge Bellis in particular was very instrumental in getting so many things online, and how fortuitous the timing of all of that, because if we were the way we were 15 years hence, it would have been much more difficult to sort of wend our way through that difficult experience. So thank you for keeping your feet on the ground and your humility. As Representative O'Day so aptly puts, I certainly see no robitis in you whatsoever. And you're just a really good role model for all the rest of us. And I'm very thankful that you're continuing with your public service, and I wish you the very best going into the future.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
very-
those comments. It really means a lot to me.
From the heart. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Representative O'Day.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good to see you, Your Honor.
It's so good to see you.
I won't ask the robitis question as I was kind of alluded to earlier anyway, but on the question that you probably have heard that there are some judges that or one or two judges that had issues serving certain districts or working at least 9 to 5. Have you ever refused to serve somewhere as requested by the chief court administrator?
Absolutely not.
And-
You have to be flexible in this job and go where you're needed.
And you're willing to work at least 9 to 5 in any district assigned going forward?
Absolutely.
And with regard to motions for continuances, I didn't ask this of Judge Doyle. He did mostly criminal work, but if there's a consented to motion for continuance, do you generally lean towards granting those when you see them?
I do. I mean, I understand, again, I have the benefit, I was a sole practitioner. So sometimes there were days I had to be in 3 different places at once. I understand what it's like to be a private practitioner, whether that's with a firm or as a sole practitioner, and I do grant them. Sometimes when cases are really old, I might ask why the need, but I understand what it's like to be in practice.
Thank you very much for your statements here, and appreciate your service to the good citizens of Connecticut, and thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you.
Representative Fishbein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
As we had the Friar hug with Judge Doyle, I just want to have the Quinnipiac hug with you for a moment.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you went to Quinnipiac.
And in reviewing the backup for today, I saw that you're part of the mentor program at the school, and you started that in 2017.
I didn't,
Or-
I haven't, I did it one time about right before the pandemic. I'm a moot court judge every year. I'm always asked, and I always serve as a moot court judge. I really enjoyed being a mentor. I think when the pandemic hit, they stopped doing that. But I'm hoping that they're gonna, I haven't been notified lately, but I try to do as much for Quinnipiac as I can.
Yeah, and over the last 10 years or so, I've seen them get more engaged with the judicial branch. I know like Judge Adelman, former Judge Monroe, they teach over there. And, I appreciate you engaging with the students, at least attempting to with the moot court. I used to do the first year oral arguments, we used to do hot bench and all
I've
that
done that.
stuff. And, for years and years and years. So congratulations on your renomination and good things in the future. So
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Senator Winfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, the question of robotics comes up a lot, and it's a subject of the deliberations of this committee, even if it doesn't come up as we watch you all. But there is a difference between robotics and just the experience people have coming into the court, feeling the presence of the court itself, the judge, and that whole thing, how some of you may operate. I want to thank you for being aware of that, right?
Thank you.
I think most people who sit down, I hope, are aware that we're concerned about robotics, but I think some people who sit in front of us don't recognize that they don't have to do all that much to be intimidating to the people in front of them, and that has an impact on people's access to justice. So I just wanted to thank you for being aware before that's something that we would bring to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Oh, Representative Callahan online. All right, let's try this.
Thank you, Representative, and thank you, Your Honor, for being here. And I apologize for not being there in person due to many conflicting meetings this morning. But it's nevertheless, it's very important to me to get an opportunity to talk to the judges that appear before the committee. Senator Winfield gave me a good segue. Having been in court staff for almost 30 years, I certainly experienced some judges that made us feel comfortable in the courtroom and others that didn't. And it sounds like you have an excellent relationship with court staff. Am I making a correct assumption, Your Honor?
You absolutely are. I can't tell you, we couldn't do what we do without court staff. We have people between the clerks who catch things sometimes that we miss, and the staff that we work with that put together services and programs for people to engage in. Right now, for instance, in the GA courts, they do an amazing job. I look to them for their assessments and expertise. I have a wonderful relationship with our staff and currently and always have, and I appreciate them more than you know. I can tell
Well, I
you.
appreciate the answer, Your Honor, and it's comforting to hear that, because it affects the morale of the courthouse and how all business operates, and you're kind of at the heartbeat of that, and I'm glad to realize that. So I
Yep.
appreciate your testimony today.
Thank you for your question.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments from the committee? If not, Auden, congratulations. You know, I can't believe it's been 8 years. And I certainly can't believe, I don't think any of us would have thought back in January of 2015 that you'd not just be sitting here 8 years later, but that I'd have the distinct honor of having held your seat for these last 8 years and be able to preside over this reconfirmation hearing. So,
Well, doing a wonderful job with this committee, and thank you all for your consideration and thank you for your comments.
next up will be the Honorable Alex V. Hernandez of Fairfield. Judge Hernandez, you could raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, that the information provided to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Have a seat, and whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning, co-chairs, vice chairs, and ranking members. Thank you and all of the other members of the Judiciary Committee for your consideration. I want to thank Governor Ned Lamont for his confidence in nominating me for reappointment to the Superior Court. I also want to thank my wife and family for their support today and throughout my legal and judicial career. It has been an honor and privilege to serve the citizens of Connecticut as a judge of the Superior Court. And I also would be remiss if I did not thank all of our courthouse staff, the marshals, the clerks, and of course our judicial secretaries who work diligently every day to see that the interests of justice are advanced.
Judge Hernandez, your microphone cut off.
I'm sorry.
There you go. You're good now. You're good.
I would like to let you know that your constituents, the citizens of the state of Connecticut, who are willing to serve as jurors, consistently impress me with their willingness to serve their communities, our Connecticut community, by listening to evidence in cases ranging from car accidents to violent felonies. They come together from diverse backgrounds. They work together conscientiously and with goodwill, render their verdicts, and deliver on the promise of justice for all. After 8 years of service as a judge of the Superior Court, my confidence in the wisdom of our jurors and the jury system is greater than ever. I would be most grateful for the opportunity to serve another term as a judge of the Superior Court, and I welcome your questions.
Thank you. Questions from the committee. We'll start with Senator Kissel, followed by Representative Auden.
Good morning, Your Honor. Congratulations on your renomination. And again,
Thank you.
as I had asked the two previous speakers, just what was something unusual when you first came to the bench that you hadn't anticipated in your years of practice?
Well, I think the thing that surprised me the most was how much I enjoyed doing civil work for the year that I was assigned down in Stamford. My background is primarily in criminal. I did some civil work when I was in private practice, but presiding over contested hearings and trials in civil work down in Stamford. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think stepping outside of my comfort zone helped to make me a better judge.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative O'Day.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
I had the pleasure of doing some pro bono work and observing you in your courtroom in Norwalk one morning that turned into a late afternoon. I just want to thank you for your service and the way you handle your courtroom.
Thank you.
In a very fair and even-handed way. As some of the other judges that came here, it's very difficult for people when they go into court. They're sometimes at the lowest point in their lives, and so I saw firsthand how you were very kind in the way you handled your courtroom.
Thank you.
And the difficulties that people were facing. So I'm not going to ask you the Robitis question because I observed it firsthand.
Thank you.
And so I'll just answer the same question I'm going to ask everybody based on some of the things that have happened in with some judges, or one or two. Are you willing to serve anywhere assigned at least 9 to 5 going forward?
I would.
And have you ever refused any assignment to date?
It would never occur to me to refuse an assignment or to turn down a case that was assigned to me by my presiding judge.
Well, thank you very much. And again, I greatly appreciate your service to the great citizens of the state of Connecticut, and wish you good luck going forward. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments? If not, Representative O'Day, on that last point and that last question, I'd be remiss if I didn't back up Judge Hernandez's statement about never refusing a case. As a first-year associate at Pullman and Conway, I was assigned to work for one of the then partners at the time, Attorney Hernandez, who I was working with very early in my career. And my first year of practice, second year of practice, Judge Hall, Federal Judge Hall, called and said, I have this very difficult employment dispute case with a very difficult pro se plaintiff. And this case is scheduled to go to trial in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that. And Judge Hernandez, then Attorney Hernandez, said, sure, Judge, we'll take it. And with 3 weeks notice, we prepared for, like we're preparing for the biggest bet the company civil litigation you can imagine, to win this case that was frankly probably unwinnable. Turned out to be unwinnable, I suppose, but we gave it our all. And the first case I ever tried in my career was second chair to then Attorney Hernandez, who just was absolutely marvelous. And at the end of this case, we sat there while the jury was deliberating, saying, you know, just maybe we won him over, right, Alex? Turns out we didn't, but it was a testament to how hard Attorney Hernandez works, to the fact that he is willing to take on any assignment, no matter how difficult, and it certainly would never occur to him to turn down a file. So I wanted to share that, because I think that is the mentality that Attorney Hernandez has taken to the bench with him. So I'm thrilled to see you back here before us for
Thank you for that.
reconfirmation.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much.
You know, as often happens when I think we're done and then I tell a story, I've now sparked additional commentary. So maybe I should sit on my hands, but Representative Fishbein.
I would just like to suggest, you know, since I think we've been through 3 of these at this point, that the questionnaire be modified to add a line, any connection to Steve Staffstrom. Because 2 out of 3 have been direct connections. But anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I assure you I'm pretty much done, but anyway. All right, moving quickly along. Thank you, Judge Hernandez, for being
Thank you.
before us.
Thank you all for your consideration.
Judge Pavia will be next, the Honorable Robin Pavia of Easton. And I promise I won't tell a personal story about Judge Pavia's background. Somebody else might on the committee, but Judge, you might raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, the information you provide to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or on a penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great. If you have an opening statement, you can go ahead and make it.
I do. Thank you. Good morning, Senator Winfield, Representative Staffstrom, Senator Kissel, Representative Fishbein, and all the distinguished members of the Judiciary Committee. My name is Robin Pavia, and I'm happy to be here before you today. I would like to thank the Governor Lamont, for nominating me for what is my third term as a Superior Court judge. Since my appointment to the bench, I have served in Stamford, Bridgeport, and Danbury. When I was last before you, I was in the Bridgeport GA doing arraignment and pretrial matters. After that, I was assigned to the Bridgeport JD, where I presided over felony trials. Following that, I was assigned to Danbury for a second time. I had been there in between Stamford and Bridgeport as the administrative judge, which is where I am still serving. Danbury is a block assignment, so we do a little bit of everything in there altogether, but my role predominantly is criminal, and I do pretrials and trials for JD matters. I feel very fortunate to have such a challenging and rewarding job, and I'm thankful for the opportunity every day that I have an opportunity to do this. I appreciate your consideration, and I would welcome any questions that you have for me.
Thank you. Senator Kissel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Great to see you again, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your reappointment to a third term.
Thank you.
And I can't ask you about things that just happened when you had ascended to the bench, because I'm 16 years too late on that one. But having weathered through, I am praying, the worst of the pandemic, how did it affect what you were doing as a judge, and what observations did you make? And is there anything that you could tell us that could we could interact with the judicial branch and make it easier for them?
I actually thought the pandemic was such an interesting process, and serving as the administrative judge during that time was very challenging, because we really had to think outside the box and try to determine how we were able to continue to allow the court systems to remain open. It was something I was actually joking with Representative O'Day about this morning, that the rest of the world seemed to be in a situation where they weren't really sure what was going on. But as far as the courts were concerned, and the same with the legislature, it needed to continue because the government had to continue. And I was extremely impressed by the ability to think outside the box and try to conform to the challenges. Without say, we were able to start getting things remotely. One of the things that you brought up was the idea of civil already having so many things that were online. And that is something that I think criminal looked at longingly, to be able to have those documents and start working with that. And I think that's something that we are working on now with new systems and CrimTrack and other things like that. But it was incredible to see everybody join together and really try to figure out how we could allow the system to maintain its integrity and process cases, and not allow justice to be delayed.
Thank you for those insights, and I appreciate that. And as I said, the judicial branch has a lot to be proud of, and they did an awesome job, continue to do an awesome job. I think replicating a lot of those online systems into the criminal side, I wouldn't say necessarily more difficult, but different battlefield for the interrelationship of different things. But I think that in speaking with Judge Carroll, who's now since retired, semi-retired, I think that way Connecticut's going to go is take the best that developed out of the pandemic, try to get back to the semblance of normalcy in a lot of respects, but there's good things that happen out of that, and to not lose those things that we learned along the way. So I hear nothing but good things about your service to the good people of the state of Connecticut, and I wish you the very best for your next term. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you
Mr.
very
Chairman.
much.
Representative O'Day.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Just briefly, you've answered a lot of my questions, but just to follow up, as I'm asking everyone, have you ever refused a judicial assignment,
I've never refused a judicial assignment.
and you're willing to serve anywhere at least 9 to 5?
Absolutely.
in the interest of moving things along, thank you very much. I have no concerns in doing, based on my due diligence and observing you in the courtroom, of robitis and I appreciate how you handle the courtroom. So thank you very much for your service as citizens of Connecticut, and I wish you all the best going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments? Seeing none, Judge Pavia, congratulations on your nomination.
Representative Stafford,
I'm sorry, Representative Callahan. I apologize about that. I gotta
partially
get
my
back-
fault for not being there, but I wanted to thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me the opportunity. I wanted to let the committee know and the committee leadership know that I've served many, many years under the leadership of Judge Pavia at Danbury Court in both of her terms there. Judge Pavia is the epitome of what a Connecticut judge should be. Her interaction with victims, court staff, with the defendants, and offering respect to people at all different facets of the job is a trademark for Judge Pavia. She, as with Judge Grogins, she talks to everyone with equal respect and runs a courtroom with great morale and an efficient courtroom, and handles difficult situations and considers the defendants' difficult situations that they're in that have maybe caused them to have interaction with the judicial branch. So I wanted to let the committee know that I was proud to serve with her and observed her firsthand what an excellent jurist she is. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Representative Callahan, and I apologize. I gotta get back in the habit of checking the monitor here as well. So
I'll be there for the rest of the time, I assure you.
my apologies. Judge Pavia, congrats again.
Thank you very much.
Next up will be the Honorable Sheila M. Prats of Avon. Judge Prats, if you might raise your right hand for me, please. Do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, the information provided to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great. Make yourself comfortable, and whenever you're ready, we'll hear your opening statement.
All right, thank you. Good morning, Co-Chair Senator Winfield and Representative Staffstrom and all the members of the Judiciary Committee. It is an honor again for me to appear before you today. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank and acknowledge Governor Lamont for nominating me for reappointment for a second term as a Superior Court judge. I was first appointed in 2014 as an interim appointment, then fully confirmed in January 30th of 2015. Since my appointment, I have been assigned to the Rockville, Hartford, Enfield, and Manchester courts. I am presently the presiding judge in GA 12, which is in Manchester. During that time, I have presided over criminal, GA, Part A matters, family matters, habeas matters, and housing. And I also covered juvenile court in GA 19 as needed. During this time, I've also have presided over trials in all of those areas as well, except for juvenile. During my time in the past 8 years, I've also served and continue to serve on the Rules Committee. I serve as an alternate on sentence review, and I was recently assigned to the Trafficking in Persons Council. As I was preparing for my reappointment and going through the questionnaires and reviewing the work that I have done in the past years, I was very pleased and surprised by the challenges that this job has presented to me and that I feel that I have met. If you had told this young girl studying in Puerto Rico that one day she would be a judge and doing everything she's doing today, she would have told you absolutely not. I'm the first one in my family to go to college. I am the first one in my family to go to law school. I come from very humble beginnings, and I continue to be humbled by this job. I always try to do my best and to be respectful to those I work with and to those who appear in front of me as well. It is my sincere hope that you will approve my nomination and allow me to continue to serve the citizens of the state for another 8 years as a judge of the Superior Court. I thank you for this opportunity, and I welcome any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kissel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Your Honor, it's good to see you again. That
Thank
was a
you.
Fast 8 years,
All
right?
right.
Unfortunately, and I've worked with Judge Carroll and appreciated his efforts that GA 13 is no longer going to be a courthouse, but it'll be repurposed. And I'm thankful for that it's not just going to be a vacant facility. But Rockville, back in the day when I was in private practice as well, not the most up to date infrastructure, and yet a very busy in many respects courthouse. What observations did you have about what was going on in Rockville in particular? Because while it's not technically in my district, it's in my neck of the woods, and I just like to know what's going on up there.
Well, Rockville is known as a block assignment. And so someone asked a question before Judge Doyle that judges seem now to be more in one area. And I would have to say Rockville is definitely different. When you go to Rockville, you've got to be prepared to deal with the whole gamut. The only thing I didn't do, and one day I was called on and then another judge was able to cover, was short calendar. And even though there are two separate buildings, there's a lot of communication between the buildings. All the judges are assigned to expect to sign TROs at any time before 5 o'clock. And there is a list of judges that were assigned that on that day, you are going to be called upon at maybe at 4:45 to sign a temporary restraining order. It's very organized. It's very busy. It is dated, but we get the work done. And I think that it flows very well. I give credit to Judge Bright and Judge Westbrook, who are two excellent PJs and AJs, that their assignment, it's clear, it's a team effort. It was very busy, but I feel like I learned a lot by being there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate those insights, and it's in many respects, what takes place north of Hartford doesn't get paid that much attention to. And I'm not complaining about that, because sometimes that's good. But it's nice to know that business is flowing in the Rockville, which is part of, for those that may not know, Vernon. I just want to say this, while I think it's terrific that you sort of rose up from humble beginnings and your background, and certainly we strive for diversity for the judicial branch. But on the other hand, I think so much comes down to an individual's personality and beliefs and moral compass, and things that have nothing to do with their background, but have to do with their heart. And your humility and your hard work is clearly evident, and I wish you the very best going forward.
Thank you, Senator.
Representative Auden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
I haven't had the pleasure to appear before you, so I'm just going to ask although based on your opening statement, I think I know what the answer to this is. Robitis, as Justice McDonald used to ask up here, has been a problem in the past. I would respectfully suggest that it's not as much of a problem now, because I think we have jurists with a lot of humility, which I heard you kind of articulate in your background, and I commend you on being the first of your family to not go to college, go to law school. How would you assure the members of this committee that you wouldn't be afflicted with robitis in your second term?
Well, technically, this is kind of a maybe 2.5. I was one of, I think, one of the few judges. I was nominated to be a judge in 2000. I was 40 years at the time. And then I was blessed with a son at 41. And I struggled with being a mother, knowing that I would never have another child at this age, a healthy child, and the demands of this job. And I chose to resign in 2003 because I knew, and I didn't want to be that judge that had the reputation of coming in late or struggling or missing out on all the milestones with my son. It's that balance and the push-pull between family and the obligations of this job are great. And I'll tell you right now, it's even more. I was at a movie theater the other night in Manchester. When I got out, one of the officers from Manchester said, "Are you available to sign 2 RPOs?" And I happened to be in Manchester. So I went to the police department and said, "You don't have to come to my house." So now we're called upon even more and more. So I worked all through college. I worked through law school. I'm a team player. When I'm on the bench, do I command respect and try to keep a tight quorum? Of course. But yesterday we had in Manchester, we had to do an arraignment virtually, and it's team effort. And if you are antagonizing other people in the building, then you're not going to get the marshals, the court reporters, the other staff, the clerks to work as a team. And so every day we have to rely on all of the people that work in the building to move the business along. So it's important to me that I know and have a good relationship with family relations, with bail, with the staff in the clerk's office, because you are called upon sometimes to triage. That's something we're not prepared to do. You're not taught that, you're not trained that. And that's something that, like yesterday, we had to figure out how to get the Spanish interpreter virtually to speak to bail, to speak to public defender, to speak to do the rights, and then have the media and coordinate all of that. And it's so, you rely on people. And so if you're asking, you have to be able to give it as well,
Thank you for that response. And your story is an amazing one, and I commend you on all you've done, and how you've comported yourself. The last question that I'm asking everyone: have you ever refused an assignment?
Absolutely not.
And you're willing to work anywhere assigned at least 9 to 5?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so very much for your service to the state of Connecticut, and I commend you on how and I'm sure your son appreciates having his mom around more back in 2003.
Well,
So
he's away now, so that's a hard thing for me. I'm a little emotional today because since I was last year, I was here with my son and my husband died in 2018 unexpectedly. And now my son is in college and life changes. And so I am forever grateful that I was able to keep my home, provide for my son because I had this job. If I hadn't been in that position, it would have been a very different story. So I am very grateful that I was given this opportunity to be back on the bench.
well, God bless you. Good luck going forward, and thank
Thank
you
you.
very much for your service to the
Thank
citizens
you.
of Connecticut.
Representative Fishbein?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Your Honor.
Morning.
Congratulations on your renomination.
Thank
You
you.
were talking about things that happen in court, and a lot of people don't understand because of that wall. I was in court recently, and there's a restraining order, and there's a divorce going on, and the father, well, they don't have children, but the husband is out of the home. He used to operate his business out of the home, and he wants to get his stuff and some of his personal property has been out of the home, and spring is coming, right? So both sides are represented by counsel. We talk about a list of stuff, but the issue comes down to where is it going to be for him to pick up?
Mhm.
The wife doesn't want him to enter the home. He wants his stuff to be protected. And there's a cultural issue also. There's a feeling that if the property is put in a certain place, that it may be demeaning that, she's moving his property, and that's a dynamic also, right? In this
Yes.
exchange. So, ultimately we have to go before the court, and, and the judge just determines that issue. And that's an emotional issue for both sides there. And, with the utilization of counsel in the court, we were able to end that day with an agreement. And a lot of people don't understand that, they think that judges are dealing with the whole thing. Sometimes you're just facilitating. You're not pushing, you're
Right.
guiding,
Mhm.
because it's your courtroom.
Right.
And, you're the last word. So I appreciate what I heard today from you. And once again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Representative Osborne, welcome to the committee.
Thank you. My maiden voyage. Good morning,
Good
Judge
morning.
Pratt. Thank you very much for being here today. You mentioned that in your tenure in Rockville, you have been called upon to deal with any kind of case that comes before you, and also to sign TROs on a moment's notice. I'm curious, did you have any experience in family law before you took the bench?
Yes. So I kind of feel my life is a little bit like Slumdog Millionaire. Everything that I did worked out really well. I was in private practice for many years. And so when you're in private, my husband and I, my ex-husband, we did a little bit of everything. So I was more the one that would always go to court, and he did like all the paperwork. So I did civil, I did workers' comp, I did social security, I did criminal, I did family, child support, and even housing. So all of that was very helpful because at least it gets, feel like I have a general handling or understanding of the law. So it makes me feel more comfortable. I love criminal. That's my, where my forte, I'm strongest at, but I welcome any, like So my practice allowed me to be able to feel more comfortable with doing all of that.
Thank you for that. If you can recall all the way back to your original Judicial Selection Commission interview, do you recall ever being asked about whether you had any family law experience in that commission?
In
interview?
2000? I don't recall that, actually. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No, not at all. It's a long time ago. I don't remember what happened last week.
Almost
sometimes, so-
23, yeah.
So regarding family law specifically and most specifically domestic violence, can you tell us a little bit about what the training is you receive as a judge in family law matters and specifically in training around domestic violence victims and training on how a domestic violence victim would present before a judge, what you should expect a domestic violence victim to look like when they come before you in court?
So we have it, when you get assigned to do family, we do get invited to do specific trainings in the fall. There are different areas where there's updates and training in the fall and case law. And also, and regarding domestic violence, we've had some excellent seminars. We have a sheet called lethality factors. We've had presenters come and speak to us about what are the things that you to look for in a case that are like red flags. And they're helpful in criminal and also in when you're doing, like, for example, a TRO hearing, or if you're doing a divorce, they come up across the board. I am very, when you're doing like criminal or a family, it's very hard because sometimes it's that breach of peace or that disorderly conduct that doesn't seem to like trigger, like it's not a strangulation, but then you read the police report or you read a report from family, and there are things that like we have been trained or taught to look for that do catch my eye or my attention.
And you said I'm sorry to interrupt. You said you receive invitations for trainings. Are these mandatory? If
Yes,
you're in
you have to
family
go.
court?
Yes, yeah.
And how frequently do those happen? Did this happen annually when you're sitting on the bench?
At least annually in the fall. During the summer, we also have the Judges Institute. So depending on what you're interested in, you sign up for classes. And again, it's more in-depth discussion of different areas of the law. And that's 2 days. And we have been doing those institutes virtually, and they have been fantastic. Like,
And to your recollection, do any of those trainings specifically teach you about the presentation of traumatized victims in court?
yes,
They
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments? Senator Winfield.
Yes, just briefly. I just wanted to go back to your opening statement and talk about if we had asked you a question about being here several years back. I think that we don't always focus so much on this, and I want to be clear that I'm not objecting to the point that Senator Kitzel made, because I agree with him. But I do think that stories like that are important, particularly when people carry those stories with them. I've been on this committee long enough to know that I've had conversations with people who sat before us who have those same stories that don't really matter to who they are now. I think it's important. I think there are little girls like the little girl that you were, who, because you are sitting in the seat that you're sitting in, are more likely to be able to answer that question presently in a different way. And so it's important to me that you carry that with you in the way that you do. And just listening to your story about all of your interactions, what I find in that story tends to be a more human story than sometimes we hear. And I think that's important, just as important as all of the experience you have actually in the field. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Further questions or comments? If not, Judge Prats, thank you for being with us and congratulations on your renomination.
Thank you very much.
Next up will be the Honorable Earl B. Richards of Woodbridge. Judge Richards, if you might raise your right hand for me, please. Do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, the information provided this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great, thanks. Make yourself comfortable, and whenever you're ready, you can give us your opening statement.
Good morning, Senator Winfield, Representative Safstrom, Senator Kissel, Representative Fishbein, and all esteemed members of the Judiciary Committee. I would like to thank Governor Lamont for considering to renominate me for a third term as a judge of the Connecticut Superior Court. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve in this capacity. During the past 8 years, my assignments have included presiding judge in the Bridgeport Criminal Court GA2 and criminal trial judge in the Part 8 Fairfield Judicial District. It has certainly been a privilege and an honor to sit as a Connecticut Superior Court judge. I would be grateful for the opportunity to serve another term, and to that end, I'd welcome any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Judge, just one quick question. I was looking at your most significant legal matters, and the first one you mentioned is State versus Richards. Were you a party to that?
No.
Just coincidence.
Thank goodness, no. That
Oh, I
was
was gonna
very,
say that would be
it's a felony
significant.
murder case, Jermaine Richards, no relation.
Okay, all right. Senator Kissel?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Congratulations, Your Honor, on your renomination.
Thank you very much.
So you have some, not really term of art, heavy duty assignments, especially being in Part A. And I'm just wondering what insights you can give us as far as what's going on out there in the state of Connecticut. Bridgeport, biggest city in the state, and Part A, you're handling very serious matters. And are there things that you've gleaned by sitting on the bench that would be helpful for us to be aware of?
Yes, the first thing is that Bridgeport gets, and a lot of the inner cities get a bad rap. Most of the individuals that are parties in these large courthouses are good people. They are toiling under tremendous problems, socioeconomic problems, and other issues. The cases, so as a trial judge, I have to be able to temper my rulings with discipline to follow the law as you folks in the judiciary have written, with empathy. I never get angry at any of the litigants, personally angry. For me, it's following the law with an eye that people have tough decisions. Now, with that being said, we do face a lot of tough cases in the Part A. And I swore an oath and I have an obligation to carry out the law as written. And I don't do that sometimes with any sense of joy, giving a long sentence. And so that dichotomy is oftentimes confronting a jurist when you're dealing with felony murder cases, sexual assault cases. Being a person of color, African-American, a large percentage of my of the defendants and victims are African-American and Hispanic. To that end, at least I try to engage with everyone. I try to not feel superior to anyone. So that means to give everyone the time of day. When I see someone in the hall, hello, how are you? Whether it's a homeless person, a victim, or even the defendant, until he's been proven guilty. And even then I'll say, well, sir, I'm sorry you feel that way, but the jury has ruled and my obligation is to do A, B, and C. So that type of, those are the issues that confront you in Part A. In Part B, where I presided, it's the same. The individuals that come before you, the cases aren't quite as serious, but they are important, just as important, to the individuals who come before you, whether it's a breach of peace, that there's a burden of proof that the state has to sustain. There's you have victims issues. So there are, and in the GA, there's the weight of the number of cases and the need to move the cases. In Part A, you can be a little bit more contemplative in your decisions. You have time, you have a little bit more staff. But in Part B, it's a different animal and it's equally as difficult. So I would say that to sum up and answer your question as concisely as possible, that it's important to be humble. It's important to understand that you're not superior to anyone, and it's important to follow the law.
Thank you very much, Your Honor, and I congratulate you on your renomination.
Thank you.
And sort of a segue from what Senator Winfield said, it's not to diminish one's background, and certainly the fact being African-American, but being the judge and presiding in the courtroom, I think sends an important signal, especially to defendants or litigants that are similarly situated racially. I do think personally that so much of the ills in our society are driven by less race, more socioeconomic and poverty issues, but they are inextricably tied in many respects. And the fact that constantly you're maintaining humility, and it's probably goes way beyond there, but for the grace of God. Sometimes people are confronted with challenges, and we like to think, I would have enough strength to overcome that, but until you're confronted with it, you really don't know. And some things are just completely inexcusable, but I think that recognizing that you're in a very special place, and as has been stated earlier, just your mere presence in the courtroom, just like when I get on that side and I'm testifying before a committee, I've been here for 30 years. February 23rd will move me into the 31st year, and I still feel almost less than, I wouldn't necessarily say intimidated, but very nervous and anxious. And this is an institution I should feel very much comfortable in. And so similarly, as soon as you get behind that bench and you're wearing that black robe, it's a whole different ballgame. And I'm glad that you recognize that. And I wish you the very best in your new term.
Thank you very much, Senator Kissel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative O'Day.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Just real quick, having listened to your remarks, I don't think the robitis issue it needs to be asked. I have not had the pleasure of appearing before you. I don't do any criminal work except pro bono matters. But based on how you've responded, I'm confident that you do not suffer from the affliction robitis. Just a couple of follow-ups that I've asked everybody. Have you ever refused a judicial assignment since becoming a judge?
I have not.
And are you willing to serve anywhere assigned at least 9 to 5?
I am.
Well, thank you very much, sir, for your service to the great citizens of the state of Connecticut, and I wish you all the best going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Fishbein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Congratulations on your renomination.
Thank you.
The affliction of robitis, although never defined, my understanding is that one gets on the bench and feels that that is the last place and they get essentially lazy. That's my understanding. I know in the backup for your nomination that apparently the Connecticut Supreme Court was inaccurate when they listed a different judge on a case that you handled. Is it?
I think they listed Judge Rodriguez as the judge, and he did the original. I did the retrial. He did the original trial, and that's why I think he was listed as the judge of record. But I was the retrial judge, and I believe the issue in that case dealt with the failure, according to the Supreme Court, to give a self-defense instruction, and it was with I believe Attorney Cardino and Attorney Marquette, if my memory serves me correctly. And I think that was the case that had to be retried, and it was originally Attorney Eddie Rodriguez that tried it, and it was reversed, and I handled the retrial.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that recollection. I just it goes to show that the Supreme Court does make mistakes.
Yeah,
That's all. So thank you and congratulations. on your
thank you very much.
And speaking of mistakes, I think Representative O'Day may actually fix your definition of robitis there,
Amen.
Mr. Ranking Member. Representative O'Day, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for the second time. I apologize, but just to clarify, and I certainly would not want to speak on behalf of Justice McDonald, but my understanding of the definition of robitis is that once someone becomes a judge, they put on the robe and they forget from where they come, and they treat people with disrespect, not respect, with a lack of humility and a lack of understanding as to those before them. So the Robitis affliction, as I understand the definition, would encompass not only what my good ranking member said, but also the a lack of humility and a lack of compassion to those before them, not only the litigants, but also the attorneys. And so when I ask that question, it's always asked. I was on judicial selection, and that's one of the questions that we always ask, because by the time judges and potential judges come before us, they had already gotten through judicial selection. And the three things that judicial selection looks at are intellect, experience, and Robitis issues, or temperament is determined. And the first two are generally obvious and easy to ascertain. The temperament issue is very, very problematic. And there was a time long ago where then attorney Hugh Keefe was very good at weeding out Robitis, and it was more problematic. But now I don't see that in the judiciary as much. So I'm sorry for the long-winded explanation, but for those that are watching, I think it's important to understand the full definition of Robitis. And I appreciate the good ranking member and chair's indulgence. Thank you.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments? If not, Judge, congratulations on your
Thank you very
nomination,
much.
and thanks for being with us this morning. Next, we're going to go to the Honorable Bernadette Conway of North Haven. I apologize. Is Judge Abrams here? Oh, I'm sorry, Judge. I didn't see you back there. Judge Abrams, come on up. Sorry about that. Judge Abrams, my apologies. I didn't see you sitting back there. Do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, the information provided to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
I so swear.
You can have a seat, and whenever you're ready, take your opening statement.
Thank you very much. Senator Winfield, Representative Staffstrom, Senator Kissel, and Representative Fishbein, and other members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. My name is Jim Abrams. I'm seeking reappointment to a third 8-year term as a judge, this term as a senior judge. I'd like to thank Governor Lamont for renominating me. Serving as a judge for the past 16 years has been a true honor. By way of background, I'm a graduate of Hamden High School and received a BA in Theater Arts from Trinity College here in Hartford. After college, I spent several years as an actor and in the special education field before attending the evening division of UConn Law School, from which I graduated with honors in 1988. Prior to becoming a judge, I worked as an attorney in private practice, concentrating in civil litigation. I was also corporation counsel for the city of Meriden and briefly served as chief counsel to the House Democratic Caucus immediately prior to my appointment to the bench. I also spent many hours in this building as a state representative from 1995 to 2005, serving the communities of Meriden, Wallingford, and Berlin. I spent my entire tenure serving on this committee proudly. And I also served in 2004 as one of the 10 members of the bipartisan select committee, which investigated the possible impeachment of former Governor Rowland. I've held a number of administrative positions as a judge, including recently completing a 5-year term as a chief administrative judge for the Civil Division, a 4-year term as administrative judge for the New Haven Judicial District, and 4 years as a member of the Judicial Review Council. 2 weeks ago, I elected to become a senior judge, which means that I will work on a per diem basis going forward. I live in Meriden with my wife of 36 years, Mary Doherty Abrams, who is with me today and who just completed 2 terms in the state Senate. Our daughter Madeline lives outside of Boston with her husband John and our granddaughters Rose and Marley, and our son Nick lives in Miami with his wife Nella and our grandson Henry. Thank you for providing me the opportunity to appear before you, and I'm happy to respond to any questions you might have. Thank you.
Senator Kissel.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Great to see you again.
Nice to see you.
As I said to Judge Grogins, I recall serving with you on this committee as well. And your reputation was whenever we had like a giant heavy bill, like Uniform Commercial Code or something like that, you would be the one that would be happy to bring it out and dig through the details, and nobody else wanted to do those bills. So I don't know if there's a connection between that and going to the bench, but and in the years since then, and I've since gone from special public defender and private practice to part-time corporate counsel. Nonetheless, your reputation is just sterling. Folks that have come before you have related to me how fair and even-handed you are, tackling complex matters. I've had the distinct pleasure of serving with your wife, and I wish her all the best with health challenges, but just a really wonderful human being, especially not only in the Senate, but in her real dedication to special needs children and education. I had no idea you had an acting background. I think I missed something. I would have liked to seen one of those plays. It would have been awesome. But I just wish you the very best. I think the per diem and your new status give you probably more versatility and ability to manage time. But you are nothing but a huge role model for all of us, your whole family, for the exemplars of public service. And I just wish you the very, very best, and it's great to see you.
Thank you, Senator.
Representative O'Day.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just real quick, Your Honor, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not going to ask the Robitis. I've had a question because I've had the pleasure of appearing before Your Honor. And I just want to thank you here for your years of service, not only in this building, but on the bench. And we greatly appreciate your service, and the citizens of Connecticut are lucky to have you agreeing to continue on a senior basis. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Representative Blumenthal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Your Honor, for being with us today. I want to echo what has been said by both Senator Kissel and Representative O'Day about your reputation and work on the bench. It's able and disciplined, and we've been very lucky to have you in all the roles we have. And I want to thank you for taking those roles, especially those leadership roles, which are not always jobs that one gets thanked for. And I want to thank you for continuing to serve our state. I have one question, which is merely essentially a personal indulgence. I was also not aware of your acting education and career, and I was wondering if you could just explain to us how, if at all, that education and career in theater has informed or affected in any way your career as a lawyer and a judge.
Certainly as a litigator, I mean, litigating is performance and telling a story. And it really helped me in terms of being comfortable. I'm not necessarily comfortable right now, but in situations like this, at least pretending or giving the appearance that I'm comfortable. So it served me very well. It served me on the bench. There were times, while I hope I was never accused of having robitis, where I needed to be perhaps a little more gruff than I actually felt, but I felt it served the situation, or other times where I was kind of angry, but had to act placid. And so it has served me very well. I will add that I've done a little community theater in the last couple of years. And unfortunately, I took a 25-year break, and I was no better after 25 years of life experience than I was. Always adequate, never good. So thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate those answers. And as a trial lawyer myself, I just want to echo your comments. I think can be very helpful. And I think what you've succeeded in doing, and maybe this experience has helped you with, is showing that law has a human face. It's not just something we do in books or by rote memorization. It's how we deal with people every day. And you've echoed that in a very good way. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Judge, I think what the former vice chair of this committee is probably alluding to is how sometimes taking out those uniform laws or big heavy bills that Senator Kissel alluded to on the House floor, you really do have to act like you know what you're talking about. So yeah, we've all had, a number of us have had the pleasure
I
of
was
that.
mentioning to my wife
No
the other day that on those bills, my knowledge was a mile wide and a millimeter thick. And if somebody had asked me the wrong question, it all would have gone down the
Right.
tubes.
And speaking of the person who normally asks that question, Representative Fishbein, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would be remiss if I didn't have something to say. I feel like I've known you most of my life. Your office was, 1 street over from my office you were practicing law long before I was. I think you were in the legislature when I started practicing law. I've been before you quite a few times, but mostly in chambers. You as a presiding judge in New Haven, always treated everyone with such grace and class, professionalism. But ultimately, we always knew that you were the man in charge. Last night we had an event in Wallingford for Phil Wright. We recognized him for his many years of service. I have to say that, at least in my engagement with you throughout my life, you are the epitome of public service. And I'm glad you're not leaving the bench. I'm glad that, your assignments will be as they are. And I will have the opportunity when I go to a court to say to the other counsel, hey, let's ask if Judge Abrams will hear this case, and because I know you'll do the right thing. So I thank you.
Thank you very much.
Further questions? Vice Chairman Quinn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Judge Abrams, very good to see you.
Nice to see you.
I have to echo everything that the ranking member said about the type of person that you are and how you have comported yourself, not only as a state representative and a corporation counsel, but on the bench for these many years. Judge Abrams and I have known each other since he started in politics. And unfortunately, you made an initial bad decision on party choice, but you were able to work your way through that and come to the lights that no, it isn't you guys.
I know. I was a Connecticut party candidate initially.
No, I wouldn't have said it. At least in front of you.
All right.
But in all seriousness, it's my honor to have followed you in different positions that we both have held. And while we're going to lose you as a 5-day-a-week judge, I know we will get the most out of you serving in your role as a senior judge. And I am so thrilled that you're willing to stay on.
Thank you, Representative.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments? Seeing none. Judge, congratulations on your renomination.
Thank you
and
very much.
Thank you for your many years of service. I know in your role as chief civil judge, you were always such a resource to this committee, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Next up will be the Honorable Bernadette Conway of North Haven. Judge Conway, sorry for the false start there. If you could. You might raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, the information provided to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great. Have a seat, and whenever you're ready, we'll hear your opening statement.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Winfield and Chairman Staffstrom, Senator Kissel, and Representative Fishbein, and other esteemed members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you here this morning. I also thank Governor Lamont for his renomination of me to the bench. Since I was last before this committee in 2015, I remained as Chief Administrative Judge for juvenile matters until the beginning of September of 2021. In December of 2021, I became a senior judge, and since September of 2022, I have been the presiding judge in the New Haven Juvenile Court, where I handle delinquency and child protection cases. I have thoroughly enjoyed my almost 24 years on the bench, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Senator Kissel.
Thank you very much, Chairman Staffstrom. Judge Conway, great to see you again. You have just, I don't want to pigeonhole you because I know your legal expertise has wide range, but clearly your reputation regarding juvenile matters precedes you. And just want to thank you at the outset for all your leadership regarding various issues affecting our juveniles. Related to previous questions I've asked, the pandemic definitely put some stressors on various aspects of the judicial branch, which I think the branch itself rose to the occasion magnificently. But I'm wondering regarding juvenile justice issues, what particular things did the pandemic perhaps exacerbate, and what things should we as a legislature know about going forward regarding how we should treat our young people?
So in terms, when the pandemic hit in March of 2020, obviously we were not sufficiently prepared for it. And throughout the branch, but probably juvenile more than anything, because we were further delayed and behind in terms of converting to e-filing and getting away from paper files. But I have to say that the leadership of the branch stepped up to the plate. Judge Carroll and Judge Bizzuto really made it possible with a whole lot of other people to pivot. And we had a lot to do in order to be able to keep juvenile court up and running. And we were able to do it only because of the collaborative efforts of the three branches of government, the stakeholders, the private attorneys, just everyone. It was amazing to see how we all came together. It's interesting. I was on a conference call with the commissioner of DCF, and those first few weeks after March 18th when we closed, and Commissioner Durante said to me, well, have you ever heard of Microsoft Teams? And I said, no. And she said, well, that's what we're going to use. And yeah, obviously we all ended up using Microsoft Teams, and it obviously changed how we practice, and it will continue to change. We will remain using virtual courtrooms for some of the practices. It's made short calendar on the child protection law so much more efficient and streamlined. Takes the burden out of the clients and the lawyers to have to appear for a 5-minute matter. So I can never say enough about how impressed and how grateful I am that we had Judge Carroll and Judge Bizzuto at the helm when this unforeseen, pandemic hit.
Well, thank you, Judge Conway, and you've been a tireless champion on behalf of juvenile issues. And I think that that's what other candidates or nominees, renominees, have stated earlier, that we're going to save the good things that we were able to cobble together through the pandemic. It's just really serendipitous that the Teams issue and virtual meeting availed itself right when it was needed. I mean, just think about if this pandemic hit 10 years prior, we didn't even have the advancements in cell phones, let alone all these other aspects. So there's always a silver lining. I'm just a glass half full kind of person in any event. But as we're doing here, we're sort of a blended kind of public hearing. I think it's important to have the bricks and mortar aspect as well as the virtual aspect. And I think that learning from the lessons that we were forced to address, it'll be better for everyone. And certainly just economically and in terms of judicial efficiency, both for the branch and for the practitioners. If it's a 5-minute call, it just makes no sense to have to be on the road for 45 minutes, driving to court. Yes, Your Honor, blah, blah, blah. And then boom, you're done. I mean, where's the justice in that for anybody? So I think good will come of this, even though it was a painful birthing experience. But you are just a real hero in my eyes because of all the hard work you've done for the young people of Connecticut. And if we can break that cycle of recidivism early on, or not use the judicial branch as the vehicle to try to access other state services for young people who, for lack of any other opportunity, find themselves committing crimes, we'll be so much better off. So You've planted a lot of seeds and we haven't seen their fruition just yet, but we will. So best of luck, and I wish you the very best in your next term. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative O'Day.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Just real quick, have you ever refused a judicial assignment?
No,
I'm not going to ask any of the judges who are going to senior status or more experienced status the question of serving anywhere, because clearly you're working per diem, so it's kind of when you can work. I just want to say thank you for all your years of service to the state and to the citizens of Connecticut, and appreciate you agreeing to continue to do so, and congratulations and good luck. Good luck.
thank you.
Representative Walker.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everybody. I could not miss this opportunity to thank my friend who has worked with me for the last 10 years for juveniles in Connecticut. She's done a fantastic job of being there, the hours she has committed, and the focus that she had on making sure that our kids have the best opportunities. And also we follow through and give them the directions that they need in order to not recidivate in as many opportunities we had. Judge Conway, you were always there. I've met you at detention centers, at prisons, at any place that we had to have a meeting in the Juvenile Justice Planning and Operation Committee. And you were integral part in helping us steer through what we needed to do, both for the children, for the families, and for the communities. So I thank you for your work. And I am very happy for your renomination for your additional term. Thank you so much for everything you've done. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Walker.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments? If not, Judge Conway, I think I speak for my co-chair as well when I say we want to associate ourselves with the remarks of Representative Walker. You have certainly been a resource to this committee on a number of occasions over the years, and we congratulate you on your renomination.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next up will be the Honorable Taggart D. Adams of Wilton. Judge Adams, if you might raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, the information you provide to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, to help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great. You can have a seat. Whenever you're ready, we'll hear your opening statement.
Good morning to the chairman and the distinguished members of this committee. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today in connection with your consideration of my nomination for another term as a trial referee. And I specifically want to convey my thanks to Governor Lamont for his nomination of me for that position. I've been a Superior Court judge, senior judge, or state referee for 24 years, since March 1979. And have presided over the criminal courts in the judicial districts of New Haven, Bridgeport, and civil court proceedings in Danbury, Norwalk, and most recent in Stamford. In Bridgeport, I presided over a very active domestic violence docket where cases were presented to the court by a group of very well-trained prosecutors and legal service defense counsel. For the last 15 years or so in Stamford, Norwalk Judicial District, I've handled civil jury and non-jury cases, including overseeing a case to a jury verdict upheld on appeal in what I was told at the time was the largest personal injury award in Connecticut's history. For more than 4 years in Stamford, and while working with now retired Judge Al Jennings and then Judge and subsequently Chief Justice Chase Rogers, I was assigned to the complex litigation docket, handling selected cases assigned to that docket from their inception to conclusion. In addition, I've been the administrative judge for the Stamford Norwalk Judicial District, as well as the presiding judge for civil matters. Since I've become a judge trial referee, I have continued to handle civil trials, administrative appeals, summary judgment motions, and the full array of other civil matters that come before the Superior Court. During this period, I've been asked by attorneys to take part in mediations as a neutral and to conduct settlement conferences, which I have done when my schedule permits. Recently, because of the pandemic, my participation in those matters has been accomplished, quote, remotely, i.e. done by computer. This is a brief summary of what I've been involved in as a trial judge and now as a state referee, and I'll be happy to answer your questions as best I can.
Senator Kissel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Judge Adams, congratulations on your renomination. I must have misheard you because I thought you said since 1979, but I'm sure you meant 1990.
I did say 79 and I didn't mean 79. You proofread this 4 times and you get it wrong every time.
Well, I'm guessing around 99, but certainly a stellar career. And I'm just wondering what your schedule is like now, and with what I perceive to be the waning of the pandemic, are you able to do a lot of your business in person as opposed to all virtually on the laptop?
More and more. It hasn't come back fully. We're still doing it. People have found that doing things remotely by the computer, as you say, can save you a trip to the courthouse and so on. So it hasn't come all the way back by any means, but I think it will slowly. There are certain benefits, I think, to being in the courthouse, not the least of which is the courthouse staff and having the records, having the records you need to be available.
Well, I appreciate your public service and your willingness to serve the, as Representative O'Day says, the great people of the state of Connecticut going forward. And I think that, a melding of virtual versus real is probably the way it's going to be going forward. That'll be the, by lack of another term, the new normal. But I do believe that in person has its advantages, just like I think it's so important in this building. Not only can we see the whole folks that are actually here in person, but there's things that you can do just walking from one room to another. You can answer 15 questions, where if you had to schedule a specific Zoom meeting for each one of those, it would take up the whole day. But certainly you've dedicated your life to the service of the law and the people of Connecticut. And I wish you the very best going forward.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr.
Representative
Chair.
O'Day.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Just want to say thank you for your years of service. I used to represent Wilton, but no longer. I've been redistricted into Stamford and part of Darien, but I've had the opportunity to appear before you in Stamford, and I want to make a pitch to the good chairs and vice chairs and ranking members. We need more judges in Stamford desperately. And I'm very appreciative of the fact that Your Honor is willing to continue to serve as a senior judge, more experienced judge, as I like to say. And thank you for your years of service and continued good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Day.
Representative O'Day, we can talk offline, or we'd need more lawyers to recall that any case that can get filed in Stamford could also be filed in Bridgeport. And then those of us in the rest of the state don't actually have to drive on 95 down to Stamford. So maybe we need more filings in Bridgeport is what we actually need. But be that as it may, we'll leave that for another day. Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments? If not, Judge Adams, congratulations on your renomination. Thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
Next up will be the Honorable Stephen F. Frazzini of West Hartford. Judge, if you might raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, the information you provide to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God, or on a penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great. Have a seat, and whenever you're ready, we'll hear your opening statement.
Thank you and good morning. Senator Winfield, Representative Staffstrom, Ranking Member Kissel, Ranking Member Fishbein, members of the committee. It's an honor to be here today. I also want to thank the governor for appointing me to serve for a 4th term on the Superior Court. For the first 3.5 years of my current term, I sat in juvenile matters in New Britain. I was the presiding judge there until the fall of 2017, after I had become judge trial referee. I then sat in juvenile matters for another year. And in 2018, I was assigned to civil matters and through the onset of the pandemic in March of 2020. And I was then at home for a year. But while I was there, I had several decisions to write. I conducted some court hearings and one court trial remotely. Most of the time I've been doing juvenile, and the juvenile matters are challenging, but they're also rewarding. And I hope to have the opportunity to continue serving. Before I was a judge, I was a legal aid lawyer for 23 years, and I did that to help people have help poor people have equal access to justice. And as a judge for the last 24 years, I've tried every day to ensure that the people of our state get justice. I also try to make sure that the people who appear before me believe that they've been treated fairly and heard. It's been an honor to serve, and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Senator Kissel.
Congratulations, Judge Frazzini, and
Thank you.
thank you for your years of public service. Over the last few years, there was sort of this philosophical or factual debate regarding our young people. Was there an increase in crime or not? Some people took the position that it was happening nationally with young people, and it was driven in large part by the pandemic. Other folks felt that it was more appropriately a problem of the way our statutes are or our system, especially regarding car thefts or gun violence. You have a unique position, given your long years of defending individuals that were juveniles, as well as working in juvenile court. And I think that you probably have a perspective that would be very informative. I'm not saying take a hard position one way or the other, but what did you see as impacting juveniles during that pandemic period? And did it have a deleterious effect on auto thefts or gun violence? Or what did you glean from that period of time from the pandemic?
Well, for the first year, I was at home as a judge trial referee. And then I was called back in April 2021. I was called back to do juvenile in Hartford. So since April 2021, as the pandemic's wound down, I have seen those cases. And, we read the statistics, and the statistics say that there's not an increase. But I certainly think that people felt like there was an increase. And the new law that you just implemented that requires next day arraignments for juveniles, I think is very helpful. Because particularly when kids were being arrested and there was a delay of a week or two before they came before the court, it didn't really help. And I think now that we've got next day arraignments, we have a chance to see them the very next day, and particularly where the actions of the juvenile pose a risk to public safety, to address that.
I really appreciate that because, a lot of times we negotiate back and forth and we have sort of a laundry list of reforms or changes that we put forward. But that simple expedient of the next day arraignment, I think, might get lost in the shuffle, but it has a huge impact. How fast can the various support services, the assessment, and also just action reaction, right? As a human being, if I put my hand on a hot burner, I'm going to immediately feel, oh man, that baby's on and my hand is burning. I'm going to remove it. If it takes 2 weeks for me to recognize that my hand's being burnt, I'm not going to move it. And what does that tell me about my relationship with that oven? Well, it's slow to react, slow to respond, but in the meantime, I may have suffered real damage before it actually gets to me. It's probably not the best analogy, but I think that, the statement is justice delayed is justice denied. Well, I think protection of the public, when we have those glitches or those delays in the system, it did not do the public a good service. So I think for all parties, including the young people, I agree with Representative Walker, and I've been with her from the beginning, maybe not seeing eye to eye on a variety of issues, but on the JJPOC and other groups like that. I mean, to the extent we can intervene in young people's lives before they even get into the cycle of recidivism, we're all better off. As the senator with the most correctional facilities in his or her district, I'd rather have law-abiding, tax-paying citizens, less victimization, and a better, happier citizenry than incarcerated individuals that have been learning of a life of crime since they were young. And so I appreciate your hard work in that arena. I want folks out there in the public to know that we are never, ever going to give up on our young people. And we're going to continue to revisit these issues until we get it right. Certainly, we will never attain perfection. But I think that we as a state have done great things compared to other states in the nation. And I'd like to see us to continue to make great strides. We can't ignore upticks in crime. And the last thing I will say is that I think the public did perceive part of the statistics going down might be law enforcement and the number of arrests and inability to make arrests and things like that. But that's a whole nother issue to debate for another day. But I appreciate your observations and I wish you the very best going forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Representative Fishbein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Judge Frazzini. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you again.
I used to be before you,
Right.
like weekly, right? And I looked it up today. I haven't been before you since 2008, and
Well,
you
that's when I left New Haven.
That's right. You haven't missed a step. It's like it was yesterday. And yeah, that last case was interesting. It was the Kaiser case where Mr. Kaiser had quit his job and there was 3 kids and mom had no money coming in and there was orders and you know, he claimed he couldn't get a job, and I had gone to where he lived, took a picture across the street, and it was a strip mall and Stop and Shop and all that stuff, and you know, wasn't applying for a job. And ultimately you had ordered him held because he hadn't paid child support. It was like $20,000. And when they brought him down to lockup, they found cocaine in his pocket.
I didn't know.
Yeah, and they arrested him for that. And then, you know, the purge amount, you know, they called me down to court, and his mom had come down with $20,000 in cash. And I was like, what am I going to do with this? And I left the courthouse, every pocket, my suit had $100 bills, and I'm walking to the streets of New Haven. So anyway, it's nice to see you again.
Yes.
And you know, nice to share the war story, and congratulations.
I remember that case, yeah.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir.
Further questions or war stories from the committee? Further questions? Seeing none. Judge, congratulations on your renomination. Thanks for being with us today. Next up will be the Honorable Edward C. Graziani of Ellington. Graziani, I apologize. You should hear how people pronounce Staffstrom. You might raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, the information provided to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or on a penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great, thank you. Have a seat, and whenever you're ready, your opening statement.
Thank you. Good morning again. And I'd like to thank Senator Winfield, Representative Stratford, Senator Kissel, and Representative Fishbein, and the other distinguished members of this committee. I'd also like to thank Governor Lamont for renominating me again. I have been a judge for almost 24 years, and I really can't believe it's that long, but it is. And for the past 8 years, I've been in the Judicial District of Windham, and I have been the administrative judge there for the last 6 years, from 2014 to 2020. I'm now still there doing family matters, and I'm recently, as of last week, helping out with family matters in Hartford. My entire career has been involved with the law. I have taught law. I taught law at the University of Hartford as an adjunct. I taught at Assunta Community College, and I taught at the Connecticut State Prison through a program through Assuntuck. While in law school, I also taught at Camden County Community College. I've practiced law in a small law firm, myself and another gentleman in Vernon, Connecticut for 20 years when I graduated law school. I've also made law. I was a member of the Connecticut General Assembly and a member of this committee for 8 years. And I am most proud of the work that I did on adoption. I spent a lot of time and effort to try to make it much more compassionate, much more fair for everyone. All the people in the adoption triad, both the birth parents, the adoptive parents, and of course, the child. And I genuinely enjoyed that. Both of my children were adopted, and it has been the greatest joy of my life, having done that. In addition, I've also applied the law as a Superior Court judge for almost the last 24 years. I recognize each and every day that I go in that people's lives are affected by the judgment that I exercise. And I try my hardest to administer the law with fairness, with compassion, and to be as competent as I possibly can. So I want to thank you all very much for being considered by you folks for another term. And I would be delighted to answer any questions that you had.
Senator Kissel.
Thank you very much, Chairman Staffstrom. Your Honor, it's great to see you again. That was a fast 8 years and 16 years and 24 years. And I'm sure I'm dating myself by stating that I have fond memories of you and I serving together on this committee. And yes, your hard work was exemplary here in the legislature. But also when we were going through a rather tumultuous time regarding our family court system and guardian ad litems and all of that stuff, you were brought to our attention as the epitome of even-handedness and calmness in a very difficult arena. When litigants are dissolving their marriages, when children were at issue. And you came to us, I believe it was 8 years ago, that people held you in the highest regard, that actually I had recommended from here that new judges could learn from how you comported yourself in those very, very difficult situations. And I'd say, and maybe this is somewhat because we've been distanced because of the pandemic and by virtue of our virtual hearings, or just in the last couple of years because we had 50 plus new judges, seemed to be less hearings, or it felt like less hearings on reappointments. But those were difficult times for the family court side. And again, I have nothing but the highest praise for you. I served with your brother too. I hope he's well. I don't know. And now I have a sliver of Ellington. Actually not a sliver, 2,200 new constituents in the town of Ellington. I don't know if you're one of them, but I view parts of towns as I represent the whole town. So consider yourself a constituent, even if you fall in one of the other senators' portions of Ellington. But again, I just want everyone to know that Judge Graziani doesn't just say when he comes to these reappointment hearings that he brings a sense of humility and understanding to the bench and knowing that litigants are fearful and nervous when they are in that situation. He does it every single day. And that's known out there. And I just want to thank you for your years and years and years of public service.
Thank you very much, Senator Kissel.
You're quite welcome.
I really appreciate your comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments? Representative Johnson, welcome to the committee.
Thank you very much, Chair Staffstrom. It's great to join this committee and be with you all and work with you. Judge, I appreciate the opportunity to ask you a question this morning. Thank you very much for being before us. And I appreciate very much what you said about adoption. And I know that our state is one of these states that knows how important it is that our children can find a loving home. And your firsthand experience, I know, is so valuable to that. Can you explain a bit in your experience on the bench, what it's been like to watch the progression, particularly for LGBTQ families who seek to adopt, and how your experience in that has been able to as we have through the civil rights movement, been able to become more fully seen with the dignity of parenthood through adoption. Just curious to know what your thoughts are.
Of course, I think that the main ingredient is love. Okay. A love for a child. And it's beautiful when it works. And they started allowing judges to do adoptions in court, which it wasn't like that years ago, it'd be through the probate court. And what I would do is, and lots of times the people who were being, the adoptees were older sometimes, not, it could be infants, but it could be 10, 15. What I would say is to them, and I tried to make it a very upbeat experience, I would say, what do these people have in common? And I talk Steve Jobs, famous people who were adopted. I would basically go through that. Babe Ruth, what did they have in common? They were all adopted. And then I would say, what do these people have in common? And I'd pick, for example, some famous movie actresses or actors and say they were all adoptive parents. And you count just as much as they do. And I tried to make it positive, upbeat, and the reality of it is it should be. It's the creation of a family. And I actually enjoyed it because it was very warm and upbeat, and it's different than dealing with taking away children and termination of parental rights, which is sad. I mean, it needs to be done at times, but it's not a happy event. These were happy events. So I agree wholeheartedly, and I think society has changed where it understands more so what really is truly important to raise a child, and love is the main component.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate that.
welcome.
Through you, Chair.
My pleasure.
Appreciate the opportunity to ask the question.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments? If not, Judge, congratulations on your renomination. Thanks for
Thank
being
you
with
very
us.
much. I really appreciate everybody's time and efforts. Okay, thank you.
Next, we'll hear from the Honorable Arthur A. Hiller of Shelton. Judge Hiller, if you might raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm as the case may be, the information you provided this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great. Have a seat, and whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning, Senators Winfield and Kissel, Representatives Staffstrom and Fishbein, and distinguished members of this committee. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today in Connecticut with the nomination for reappointment to the Connecticut Superior Court. I wish to thank Governor Lamont for his renomination to this committee and for its consideration. It's very hard to believe that it's been 8 years since I was before you, and it's a pleasure to see you all again today. I've now been a judge since March of 1999 and continued as such until becoming a senior trial judge in 2013. Over this time, I've served in numerous courts, including Norwalk GA for criminal matters until November of 1999, then to the judicial districts of Stamford for family matters for about a year, Danbury for civil from September 2000 to 2001, to Fairfield for family matters from September of 2001 to September of 2003, and then back to Stamford as presiding judge for civil matters from September 2003 to 2005. Back to Fairfield as presiding judge for civil from 2005 to 2009. And during this time, I was appointed as Chief Civil Administrative Judge for the Judicial District of Connecticut from 2006 to 2009. Then from 2010 to 2013, Administrative Judge and Presiding Judge Civil in Milford. Since 2013, I have served as a JTR in Ansonia, Milford, with my primary role on civil matters, housing matters, family matters, and also reviewing restraining and protective order applications and doing hearings on those matters. It's been a privilege to serve in all of these positions and would very much like the opportunity to continue. I would be most grateful for this committee and for the General Assembly approving my nomination, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions from the committee? Representative O'Day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, good morning, Your Honor.
Good
Still
morning.
Oh, wait, good afternoon. I'm sorry. Just a brief comment. Thank you for your service. I've had the pleasure of appearing before you on numerous occasions. And a brief war story. I don't know if you remember this, Your Honor. I was representing the Sports Authority, and a woman I was defending, and the woman walked into the window between the two doors and was suing the Sports Authority for fracturing her eye socket in her nose. And we were about to start opening statements, and you called us all into chambers and you said, "Gentlemen, is there any way we can settle this case?" Because I think you saw where it was going, and we were able to settle it before opening statements. But I just wanted to thank you for your years of service to the great citizens of Connecticut, and appreciate you agreeing to continue on, and wish you all the best. Thank you, Ron.
It was always a pleasure seeing you in Stamford, Attorney O'Day. Representative O'Day.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Representative Osborne.
Thank you, Chairman Stastrom, for the opportunity to ask questions. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here today, and thank you for the service you've given to the state of Connecticut, and particularly to the children and families in family court. I noticed that you are up for appointment as a family support magistrate, and I had the opportunity yesterday evening to be.
I don't think so.
Representative Osborne, this is for reconfirmation as a state referee.
The cover letter does not say that.
Unless you have another job for me.
Moving along, thank you
Yes.
for your, thank you for your service to the state of Connecticut, and thank you for particularly your service in family court. And along the lines of the questions that I asked previously to Judge Prats, who was before us, do you feel like the experience that you have had in family law provided you with the training that you needed to adequately understand the complexities of the problems coming before you in family court? Could you talk a little bit about the training that's provided to judges in the family court system, and how that presents a unique complexity for judges who may not have had the experience prior to serving on the family court bench?
Well, I can give you a little history. When I started, after the first 6 months in criminal, I was assigned to family court in Stamford, which is a very interesting and difficult place to be. So the first thing I did was pick up the two textbooks on family law. And the week before I started, those books were done, finished, and outlines prepared. The education came mostly from sitting in court, reading the briefs, and listening to lawyers for that first year. After that, we had annual family seminar by the branch to keep people up to date on changes that are coming in the family law, and those were always very helpful. But experience will make you educate yourself if you haven't done it before.
Thank you very much for your time here today. Thank you for allowing me to ask questions, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity.
You're welcome, Representative. Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments? If not, Judge Sheila, great seeing you. Congratulations on your renomination.
Very much.
Next up will be the Honorable Robert B. Shapiro of Avon to be a state referee. Judge Shapiro, if you might raise your right hand for me, do you swear or affirm as the case may be, the information provided to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great, thank you. You can have a seat. Whenever you're ready, give us your opening statement.
Senator Winfield, Representative Staffstrom, Senator Kissel, Representative Fishbein, and other members of the Judiciary Committee. I'm Bob Shapiro. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. I'd like to thank Governor Lamont for nominating me for a new term as a state referee. For the past 24 years, I have had the honor and privilege of serving as a judge. During the past 8 years, I've been assigned as a civil trial judge, first in Waterbury and since 2016 in Hartford. In Waterbury, I was one of the judges assigned to the pilot program for the single judge assignment system in civil matters. We were the first judicial district in Connecticut to begin this program. As a judge, I've presided over many jury trials, many courtside trials. As a judge trial referee in Hartford, I am continuing to try cases. Hundreds of my written decisions are available online. Also, I'm serving as a member of the judicial branch's Committee on Judicial Ethics as an appointee of the Chief Justice. In addition, I've been assigned to conduct pre-argument conferences on appellate matters. Every day, I'm conscious of the important responsibility that's given to me to listen carefully, to treat people fairly, to prepare diligently, and to decide cases promptly and in accordance with the law. I hope to have the honor and privilege of continuing to serve as a judge in a new term of office. Thank you for considering me.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the committee? Questions or comments? Seeing none, Judge, appreciate being with us and congratulations on your renomination.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
All right, we are moving on to our family support magistrates. First up will be Magistrate Jennifer Aguilar of Branford. If you could raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm as the case may be, the information provided to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great. Have a seat whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chairman Winfield, Chairman Staffstrom, Ranking Member Fishbein, Ranking Member Kissel, and all other members of the Judiciary Committee. My name is Jennifer Aguilar, and it is an honor and a privilege to be nominated for a reappointment as a family support magistrate by Governor Lamont, and I would like to express my gratitude for him for this nomination. Additionally, I'd like to thank all of you for your time in considering this nomination. I was first appointed as a family support magistrate in May of 2018, and over the last 5 years, I've been assigned to dockets all over the state. Most of my assignments have been in Stamford, Bridgeport, Derby, and New Haven, but I'm currently assigned to New Haven, Bridgeport, and Norwich. All of my assignments have included establishment, paternity, interstate, modification, and contempt hearings. The last 5 years have been an amazing experience, and I'm honored to have the privilege to serve the people of Connecticut. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Judge Aguilar. Are there Representative O'Day was first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, thank you, Your Honor. It seems like, did you just say you're in Norwich now? You did assignments in
I am
Stamford?
Norwich now, yes. So I've gone from Stamford to Norwich to Putnam to.
So it sounds like you've never said no to an assignment that's been given to you?
Absolutely not. And the sort of unspoken motto of a family support magistrate is have robe, will travel. So we go wherever we need.
Well, thank you very much for your service to the state and good luck.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative O'Day. Senator Kissel.
Yeah, actually, thank you very much, Chairman Winfield. That works out perfectly. It's my recollection after having other family support magistrates come before us that the whole travel thing, that within the course of a week, you might be in more than one location. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes it's 5 locations in 1 week.
Yeah. How do you guys do that? And it just seems like I guess I'm a creature of habit. I know where the legislature is and it's not that bad for me to zip around, but if it was in, Norwich one day and Derby the next day, that would be a lot of GPS for me to zip it
I
around.
mean, after you go there a couple times, you remember how to get back there. It's just the nature of the job. The dockets aren't heard every single day in every single courthouse, and we just go where we're needed, and it's just the nature of the job.
And my other question is that I've heard from various folks that it's a difficult job, and when folks come before us for their either nomination or renomination, they don't really talk about the particulars of the job that much. And since we have you here this afternoon, just very briefly, what would sort of like, in a nutshell, a typical day, like what are the mechanics of what you do? How many people do you serve?
The docket is similar to sort of a short calendar. They're shorter hearings. I mean, they can go longer if it's a more complicated issue. Anywhere between 10 and 80 cases a day, depending on the docket and depending the jurisdiction. And I establish paternities for some days. I grant DNA requests on some days. I enter formal child support orders. I modify those orders. Sometimes I enforce those orders. Sometimes I don't enforce those orders. It depends. I deal with people where the child support payer is in the state of Connecticut, but the child and the custodian are in another state. So depending on the docket, that's what I handle.
And did you say between 10 and 18 or 10
10
and
and
8?
80, depending on
80.
where you are. And
So to me, that's a huge amount of individuals. And are these mostly pro se's or?
yeah, that's yes, the vast majority of the people that come before me are self-represented.
So, and again, not to belabor this, but it strikes me that you have to have an overarching abundance of patients, especially if you're dealing with pro se after pro se after pro se. And how would you say the court support services are for you? Because I would think that you'd have to rely on staff an awful lot too, just to make sure people know where to line up, what to do. And it actually blows my mind that you might handle 80 matters in a single day and keep them all straight in your head. And you're meting out justice. And as we see in every aspect of the judicial branch, these are folks that are at really important parts of their lives. As Representative O'Day so artfully said many times, the low point of their life. Nobody really wants to go to court unless maybe it's your profession. But if you're just a regular human being, it's not your first pick of what you want to do that day.
Correct.
And I'm just wondering, like, what keeps you grounded day after day and place after place dealing with these things?
So I think it's a couple things. First and foremost, what you mentioned, no one wants to be there. No one leaves my courtroom thoroughly happy, right? Either you're there because you kind of couldn't handle this on your own, or there's some tension, or you don't like the order I put in, or so there has to be a tremendous amount of empathy. On top of the fact that no one leaves my courtroom particularly happy, they're in a world that is scary, that is a foreign language, and there's 100 people, whether it's court staff or other members of the public. So it can be overwhelming. So I stay grounded through empathy and through the amazing staff that judicial has, whether it is a marshal, a clerk, a court reporter, court service center. The level of excellence in judicial is unbelievable, and they help organize that.
Okay. And you're in the same court facilities as the Superior Court judges and other folks?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for your dedicated public service. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kissel. Representative Fishbach.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your renomination.
Thank you.
I saw a term in here that I hadn't seen before, the establishment docket. What is the establishment docket?
Those are cases where paternity has not been established either through marriage, a signing of an acknowledgement, or a other court proceeding where paternity has been adjudicated, probate court, superior court,
Okay,
juvenile court.
I'm learning. Sometimes I go to, we call it the magistrate's court, right?
Yep.
So, am I to understand that it's the same court, like where you do the child support and that kind of stuff?
Yep.
But on that particular day, that particular file may have to do with those topics you just
Right, so the first issue is whether or not paternity has been established. If it has, then we move to child support. If it has not been established, we will establish that one way or the other, and then we will move to child support.
Okay, yeah, so it's like DNA testing, that
Yeah.
kind of, somebody says it's not the father, yada, yada.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, thank
No
you.
problem.
Thank you, Senator Kissel. Representative Osborne.
Thank you, Chairman Winfield, and thank you for the opportunity to try to get this question right. Thank you very much for being here. Obviously, you've noted a particular interest of mine in family court and the training that goes on for that. And I know that, I read with great happiness your answer to question number 22, which talks about your prior experience in family law before taking the bench in family support magistrate. But that's also one of the only areas of or statutes that actually requires family court experience for family support magistrate. Do you feel, could you speak to, I know that your authority and jurisdiction is limited to support cases filed under certain statutes.
Yes.
But is there any reason, seems to me that you are more than qualified to also hear pendente lite child support and spousal support cases filed under the 46B statutes that are relevant, like 83 and 84 and 56. Is there any reason could you speak to your feelings about a family support magistrate and their competency to handle those cases?
I think that we are a tremendous group and that it would, anything we could do to streamline or make access to the courthouse or the courtroom easier for litigants would be great. But as to whether or not we have should have that statutory authority, I think is a little bit above my area of expertise.
But it's certainly an area of expertise that you would be perfectly qualified to adjudicate, correct?
I would feel comfortable dealing with all aspects of family court.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
And thank you for the opportunity to get that question right.
Thank you, Representative. Other comments or questions from other members of the committee? Comments or questions? I don't see any, so I want to thank you very
Thank
much
you so
for
much.
joining us this morning. Next, we'll hear from Anthony P. Fusco of Brookfield, Magistrate. And if you'd raise your right hand and do you swear or affirm that, as the case may be, that the information you provide to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
I will.
All right, you may have a seat and provide us with your statement.
Thank you, Senator. Good morning, Senator Winfield, Representative Staffstrom, Senator Kissel, Representative Fishbein, and other members of the Judiciary Committee. I'm Tony Fusco. Thank you for the honor of having me appear before you today. I also thank Governor Lamont for nominating me to another term as a family support magistrate. Over the past term, I have sat in Bridgeport, Danbury, Derby, and Stamford, and on occasion, New Britain. I am presently a member of the Judicial Review Council. I was a mentor to a former family support magistrate who is retired. I am a U.S. Army veteran of the Vietnam War, where I served as a combat infantryman. I worked as a family support magistrate for almost 14 years and presided over thousands of cases in various jurisdictions. My work is very important to the parents and the children of our state. I would ask and be grateful for the opportunity to keep on serving. I welcome any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments or questions from members of the committee? Comments or questions? Harding, Representative, Senator Harding, sorry about that. It's gonna take me.
Takes an adjustment. I
Yeah.
understand. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Harding.
So really just a comment, Your Honor, I've been in your courtroom before. Outside of my wife, kids, parents, and sister, you're my favorite constituent. But I mean that sincerely. You're just a good-hearted person. But what I love about what you do in your job is that you are so passionate about the individuals that you help in your courtroom. And you understand what you're dealing with on a daily basis. We've had a lot of incredible judges and magistrates and referees come up here today and talk about the logistics and the practicality of what they're doing every single day. Outside of just adjudicating law, they know that they're impacting lives on a daily basis. And what I respect and appreciate the most about you is that you truly understand that, and that's what your passion is. We are honored to have you on the bench here as a magistrate in this state. And I congratulate you on your appointment and thank you, and happy that you came again for another few years on the bench. You just certainly deserve it. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Hardy.
Thank you. Comment or question from other members of the committee? Comment or question? Seeing none. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you to the committee.
Next, we will have the Honorable Richard G. Adams of Middlefield, Family Support Referee. You raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm, as the case may be, that the information you will provide to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, or nothing but the truth? So help you God on the penalty of perjury.
I do.
You may have a seat and provide us with the opening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon. Senator Winfield, Senator Kissel, Representative Staffstrom, and Representative Fishbein, and members of the committee. It's an honor to be before you again today. And for that, I thank Governor Lamont for nominating me for reappointment as a family support referee. More than 16 years have passed since I was appointed as a family support magistrate by Governor Earl in 2006. And in those 16 years, my assignments have taken me to 12 of the 15 courthouses in which my court sits, including, of course, my home base of Middletown, plus in approximate descending order of frequency, New Haven, Hartford, Norwich, Meriden, New Britain, Waterbury, Bridgeport, Derby, Litchfield, Rockville, and Putnam, conducting literally thousands of hearings with people from across most of the state of Connecticut. Although most rulings in our court and decisions are issued from the bench, I have also issued a fair number of written decisions, including one in particular, which made a successful trip to the State Supreme Court and back some years ago, yielding an outcome which I at least found gratifying, at least, yes, to me. In past years, I've also taught several courses in the Judicial Institute, as well as our periodic educational programs, specifically for members of our court. I've served as a mentor in our program for newly appointed magistrates, and I chaired a committee dealing with an attempt to make our ubiquitous courtroom forms more understandable to the largely self-represented parties who appear before us. I also served a term on the Judicial Review Council, in which I had occasion to sit on an elaborate hearing involving one member of my own court, which of course is our function in that organization. It has been fascinating and rewarding to me to serve in this capacity, and an honor to work closely with the other magistrates. It's a closely knit court, and referees, of course, and the judges with whom we sit, the clerks, the monitors and marshals on whom we so depend, and the attorneys, in particular the assistant attorneys general who appear before us frequently, and the family support officers, of course, and Department of Social Service representatives who often testify and provide a lot of the material that we need in making a decision. They all form an impressive group of people of whom Connecticut citizens can justifiably feel proud. I've learned from the experience that our court performs a very important function, and I'm proud of the work our court does. We have relied significantly over the years on the support of referees like me, who cover dockets where a full-time magistrate is unavailable under a current system. At one time, we had as many as 7 referees, that is technically retired magistrates, which seemed ample. However, full retirements have over time left us now with only 2. I look forward, with your approval, to serving again as this court, in this court, as my services may be needed, and I'd be glad to respond to any questions you may have.
Senator Kissel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Your Honor, congratulations. And I just want to thank you for the very thoughtful opening statement. I know there was a pitch in there for some more bodies that'll help the family unit and the camaraderie, but you really touched upon a lot of things, and your passion for the job is palpable. And again, thank you for your years of public service, and I wish you the best on your new term.
Thank you very much, Senator Kissel.
Further questions or comments? Representative Fishbein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, congratulations on your renomination. I also note your varied contributions to the town of Middlefield, which was added to my district
Yes.
for this term. I spent most of the summer walking just about every street of Middlefield. I know I must have knocked on your door,
I'm sure you did.
and small town, and it's nice getting used to small town stuff again. So I just want to thank you for, I see you were on the Charter Review Commission, you were on the Planning and Zoning and things like that, and very much appreciate your contribution. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Representative Fishbein.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments? Seeing none, congratulations on your renomination. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so at that point, that is going to conclude our list of nominees. We are now going to turn to our public speaking portion of our public hearing. And first up is Attorney Ed Gavin. Attorney Gavin. Great to see you.
Nice to see you too.
I don't have to put you under oath. You're not, yeah, you're not a nominee. It's only the nominees, so.
Thank you very much.
You can lie to us all you want.
No, I won't do that. I won't do that. Senator Winfield represents.
Actually, hold on a second, Attorney Gavin. There seems to be a request to put you under oath, but.
I ask questions, I don't answer them. Senator Winfield, Representative Staffstrom, Senator Kissel, Representative Fishbein, Representative O'Day, and its distinguished members of the Judiciary Committee. My name is Edward Gavin. I am the president of the Connecticut Criminal Defense Lawyers Association. We're an organization of about 350 licensed lawyers that practice in the field of criminal defense. This is my 15th year testifying before this distinguished committee in regard to the reappointment of various judges. And for me, this is sort of a dream come true because we have a large universe of criminal judges. Normally, we don't comment in regard to family practitioners or civil judges because that's not where we work. But today we have a all-star list of judges. Just for the record, I've submitted about 30 pages worth of commentaries from my colleagues for your consideration, and we appreciate the opportunity to go ahead and do so. I think it would be fair to say that out of all of the Superior Court judges and also the senior judges like Judge Abrams and Judge Conway, there's just universal support for their reappointment here. There's no one that I'm aware of that has any issues in regard to the concerns of this committee like robitis or taking their appointment less than seriously. When I go through the list here, I know most of the judges and I've appeared before them or tried cases with them. Judge Doyle is an outstanding judge. She served in Bridgeport with distinction as a presiding judge at GA2, one of the busiest courthouses in the state, and is now up in Hartford doing a great job. Judge Grogins from Bridgeport is absolutely wonderful. She's in Milford now. Judge Grogins and I tried serious Part A criminal cases together when she was a criminal defense lawyer. Judge Hernandez came out of the U.S. Attorney's Office. He now sits as a trial judge in Bridgeport, trying the most difficult cases. Wonderful man, fair, reasonable, articulate, just a terrific jurist. Robin Pavia is the presiding judge up in Danbury. She's unique. She is just an outstanding judge. I put in my commentaries that I would ask the governor's office to consider her appointment to the appellate court because she has done such a good job. She's currently the chair of the Sentencing Commission. She goes above and beyond in her career as a jurist on the Sentencing Commission. She has vested interest in bringing all the stakeholders in the state of Connecticut and is just doing an outstanding job there.
I haven't had the pleasure of appearing before Judge Prats, but my colleague Jennifer Zito, you can see in the commentaries, and various other lawyers from around the state just speak so highly of her. And of course, Judge Richards testified. Judge Richards is a trial judge in Part A with Judge Hernandez, does an outstanding job, served as the presiding judge in Bridgeport and in New Haven, and is a jack of all trades and does them all exceptionally well. You all know Judge Conway with her work in juvenile court. You just couldn't ask for a better, more dedicated and concerned judge than Bernadette Conway. So I would ask you just to, take a look at our comments here. We take a lot of time and effort. I think we're the only bar association that goes ahead and comes to this committee and testifies on behalf of our membership. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you, and we thank you for your good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Attorney Gavin. We certainly appreciate all the time and effort your organization puts into providing us commentary every year on reappointments. For the benefit of the members of the committee, the comments were submitted to the committee, I believe, last evening. We will email those out if we've not done so yet to the members of the committee. Well, it's a packet of commentary. We will get those out, but our apologies for not sending that out last night. But the comments in there are all positive. There are no negative comments in the commentary. Senator Kissel.
Thank you very much, Chairman Staffstrom. Attorney Gavin, it is great to see you. I can't believe it's
Nice to
been
see you.
15 years you've been coming before our committee.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I was a criminal defense attorney. First rule, always get paid up front, because once the matter's resolved, they don't want to know nothing about you. But also did years of special public defender work as well. Just want your membership and yourself to know that as other bills come before us that impact your members' practice or just general issues that strike a chord with either yourself or your members, my door is always open. Like to get your perspective. And again, I echo the comments made by Chairman Staffstrom that your feedback is extremely important, getting the insights of people that are on the ground and before these judges and the fact that today is such a nice day. Here we are in the building. It's like the way it used to be pre-pandemic. And the fact that you have a list of all positives. I've been around here long enough to know that's not always the case,
Correct.
unfortunately. But what a blessed and lucky day that we have today. So thank you, but also extend my thanks to your entire membership as well.
Thank you, Senator.
You're quite welcome. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Fishbein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will represent the backup is online. It's on the written testimony, so Kristen was right on top of it. So for our members that are looking for it, want to review it. Attorney Gavin, you and I don't think we've ever met before. I've seen your name. When I went to review for it today, I looked at the backup and I looked at the cover page to the letter, and I presumed from the content of the cover letter that you didn't want Senator Kissel and I to review your packet, because you mentioned Senator Winfield, Representative Staffstrom, Vice Chair Flexer, Michael Quinn, Judiciary Committee, Legislative Office Building, UCC to staff, Audrey Felson, Judge Bizzuto, and then the chairman of the Judicial Selection Committee. So can you explain why we were left off of the correspondence?
It was intentional. No, actually, I think Kristen will back this up. So the practice is that we submit it now electronically. It's received, and then we were told that it is distributed to every member of the Judiciary Committee. I don't know why that wouldn't have happened already. It's curious to me.
No, that's
as
not,
well.
that's not the point. We are members of the Judiciary Committee, but Senator Kissel and I are in leadership of the Judiciary Committee.
Understood.
So you expressly noticed the chairs, and then you jump the rankings to go to vice chairs and then collaterals. And I'm just making the point. You know, I know recently, member of the governor's staff, as well as I think it was Judge Carroll, sent similar correspondence that omitted Senator Kissel and I from it. I would hope that that would not be the case going forward. You know, I did read the entirety, 30 pages, even though I took the impression that you didn't want me to. I appreciate what was in there. But we try and work like on a bipartisan basis on this committee, and I just bring it to your attention. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Nothing intentionally offensive there. As you know from my introductory comments, I addressed you as well as Senator Kissel, and the commentaries are for everyone, everyone's consideration. Thank you for the point.
Thank you, Attorney Gavin, and it was actually my error. I did not realize they had already been posted, so our administrator was on it. As usual, it was the chair who was behind the 8 ball here. Further questions or comments? Representative O'Day.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, good afternoon, Attorney Gavin.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for all your hard work for the last 15 years. And I would be remiss, based on your statements about Attorney Pavia, to forget to mention that you knew Attorney Keefe, I know Hugh Keefe, for many, many years.
Yes.
And he had a line when we were on judicial selection that we want the best of the best trial lawyers to stay in the Superior Court and not advance them into the appellate court where they weren't as needed, or as rewarded or as necessary. So a bit tongue in cheek there. I take your point, but I just wanted to remind you that Attorney Hugh Keefe would disagree with sending our best and brightest up to the appellate court. I just point that out for a point of jest a bit. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Attorney Gavin, for your hard work.
I was with him last night at a wake, and I will tell you that there's been the comment of more than one of my colleagues that said to me, why would we advocate for one of the best trial judges in the state, and Judge Pavia, to go up to the appellate court? And my response is that she is an outstanding judge on the trial level. But I think that we have some retirements that are going to occur, and obviously Justice Khan is going to the federal bench, and we have some openings, and I think she would be an outstanding candidate. Thank you so much for your comment.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that assessment. I just wanted to relay Attorney Hugh Keefe's comments because I think they ring somewhat true, but I agree with you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Further questions or comments? If not, Attorney Gavin, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Safe drive back to Bridgeport. Next up will be Jeffrey Hutko.
Yes, thank you. I hope I'm visible and audible. Someone give me a thumbs up.
You are. You're good to go, sir.
Good. Interesting. I suddenly have so many faces to names I've known for a while. I'm here to support the reappointment to the bench of Honorable Robin Pavia. I have practiced exclusively criminal defense for the past 30 years in Connecticut, including 22 years with the Division of Public Defender. I was based in the Hartford and Waterbury judicial districts before settling in Danbury 2006. In my years, I've represented over 4,000 clients and tried close to 50 cases, including 3 death penalty trials to verdict. I'll be brief, but please understand I'm being sincere at the same time. I begin with testimony aimed to clarify something. I noted the written testimony submitted by Ms. Demisha Moore, who I believe speaks next. Ms. Moore's written testimony comments on a recent Danbury trial, State v. Rodney Harvey. I just want to state, and this you'll have to bracket this perhaps for a moment. I just want to state that I was the trial lawyer for Mr. Harvey and want to testify that every allegation contained in Ms. Moore's written testimony that directly relates to State v. Harvey is flatly inaccurate, and untrue. I'll leave it at that. This will make more sense perhaps in a minute. I've appeared in front of Judge Pavia countless times in Danbury, and she has presided over 4 criminal trials in which I was a trial lawyer. In all my appearances before Judge Pavia, she has never been anything but respectful and impartial to everyone, including every defendant. I'm sure I don't need to enlighten anyone about the fact that Judge Pavia is knowledgeable, decisive, fair, and incredibly hardworking. With Judge Pavia's leadership, the Danbury Courthouse made it through the pandemic intact, and with court business moving throughout, I witnessed her outstanding successful effort to ensure the Danbury Courthouse kept going during the pandemic. As I've told her more than once, she's like an electron. She could be 2 places at once. I firmly support Judge Pavia's reappointment, and I thank you for your time here today. And cloistered here in Danbury in the pandemic, I actually felt like I got out today by seeing everybody. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairman Staffstrom. Counselor, not really a question, just a comment that I want to thank you for availing yourself of the remote capabilities that we've set up. I think it bodes well for the future of this session. And also chiming in on this particular issue and being so patient as to wait for all the judges and nominees to testify, and then testifying as a member of the public. So I just want other folks that might be wondering, is that a good thing to do, or is it worthwhile? It absolutely is worthwhile. You can't probably see behind us, but there's a huge screen so that everybody in the room sees your mug when you're up there on testifying. But also it helps the committee. So there's nothing lost in this sort of a blended system that we have going forward. And to the extent someone can be far away and still testify, really helps the members of the committee. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. Happy New Year, everyone.
Further questions or comments?
Happy New Year.
If not, thanks for being with us. Next up will be Demisha Moore. Ms. Moore with us, I believe, online. Demisha Moore, ma'am, you're muted, I believe.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Hello. I just heard the testimony of Attorney Hudko, and what I ask of this committee is to please look into these matters yourself. I think that would be a great thing to do, just look into the matters. And I'll begin with my statement. Hello, Judicial Committee. Thank you all for your service in allowing me to address you. My name is Demisha Moore. I am here today to speak about the accountability to the public and the responsibility to protect the public. The practices of Judge Pavia are detrimental to the public and should be investigated. I will bring to your attention the most recent case, State of Connecticut versus Rodney Harvey. Mr. Harvey is currently incarcerated. In this case, Judge Pavia has in her possession a letter from the Chief of Police showing that a person that he testified, he wrote up, in this case, Judge Pavia, I'm nervous and I'm a little upset of hearing the testimony, but I'll calm down. In this case, Judge Pavia has a letter from the Chief of Police of Danbury. Also in her possession, she has evidence showing proof that that letter from the Chief of Police is a false statement protecting an untruthful officer, resulting in a guilty verdict for Mr. Harvey. To date, Judge Pavia has done nothing to correct or bring light to the corruption that she is a witness of from the Danbury Police Department and the state's attorney. Instead, she has become a complacent ally. The public and I ask this committee to please reconsider the reappointment of Judge Pavia until these allegations are investigated. If we are pushing for police accountability, this is our true goal, there should be an investigation into Pavia's actions concerning the Danbury Police and State's Attorney's Office. Pavia has failed, and you can investigate it yourself, has failed to call these actions to the attention of any relevant agency to rectify these behaviors, although on numerous occasions she is a witness to it, denying many of their Sixth Amendment right. Judicial misconduct breaks down the very fiber of the necessary for a functional judiciary. Will this committee allow this to exist and continue, or will we make a decision today to protect the public? Justice should be available for all, not just those in the know, especially when judges are a part of the cover-up for the public to not know. Pavia is the administrative judge over all judges in this jurisdiction. Allowing this behavior to become normal practice of many, poisoning and undermining the entire judicial system. Thank you for allowing me to address you today. Again, I urge you all to get the public docket of this file. We all can have testimony, but I'm asking you to look into it. There is a public document of everything of what I'm alleging here, and nothing is being done. Danbury Police Department is corrupt, along with our state's attorney, and someone needs to investigate it. Thank you for your time, and God bless you.
Thank you. Questions from the committee? Representative Fishbein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, ma'am. I thank you for submitting your written testimony because I had an opportunity to look at it last night. In there, you say, please take note of the cases that have been reserved by the appellate court. What cases are you specifically referring to?
I meant reversed by the appellate court, and I apologize for that typo.
Okay, that's fine. You know,
that system was hard to navigate from a phone, and I apologize. There is a case of Beamer, State versus Beamer, where the law was not even, the guy was convicted of charges that don't even exist in the Connecticut statute, but Pavia allowed a jury to find him guilty. There is also a case of Martin Nova, where she explains adverse possession, and the appellate court has turned it over.
okay, so I looked at all of the cases. I spent about 6 hours last night, just so that you know, because I really took your testimony to heart. It appears that there's been 18 appeals involving Judge Pavia, and 3 of them have been overturned over her many years. So you said the BB case?
Beamer? Do you have that? State versus Beamer?
Yeah, I don't see that.
State versus Martin Nova?
Okay. Yeah, I don't see that on the list either. And then you also said that when signing warrants that she didn't question the credibility of the officers. And I'm just trying to figure out in what context do you make that statement? Because I don't know like your involvement with this process.
Well, just so you understand, I've never met Rodney Harvey a day of my life. I'm literally fighting for a stranger for justice. I know nothing of his family, nothing of his background. I just know of a court case that I'm following.
Okay.
And the reason
I'm referring to the portion of your written testimony that says that Judge Pavia is the administrative judge, allowing all attending judges under her to sign warrants for a defendant's arrest and search warrants, never questioning the credibility of the officers. And I'm just trying to figure out where that affirmative statement comes from.
Okay, so, and I have to give you a little background on the case of State versus Rodney Harvey. In that file, there is a cop called Justin Williams. The entire Danbury Police Department fudged their training during COVID. And they signed under oath that they did this training, which makes that a misdemeanor. So they all should have been charged with that. So now you're aware of that. Judge Pavia has evidence of that. If you get the information that's been submitted in the Harvey file, you will see the investigation on one particular detective, Justin Williams, that led to the guilty conviction of Mr. Harvey. And you will see that he is one of those officers that participated in this action, but yet he's still able to go to court and get warrants signed by this judge and all judges under Judge Pavia, knowing that he's been charged with these charges. She has it in this file.
Okay, so you keep on mentioning the Harvey case, and I believe the attorney who's representing Mr. Harvey, he's
Mhm.
Attorney Hutko, who testified just before you, right?
Yes. Mhm.
So the lawyer for the individual that you're here essentially on behalf has come before this committee in support of this judge. How do you unpack that in your mind?
All I can say to you is look at the history. They have a history, and I'm not sure. I don't want to go into a whole thing of what we see justice as, but you guys have the file available to you. The whole entire police department, detective department of the city of Danbury's Detective Bureau fudged training during COVID, which means they signed under oath that they did this training and they did not, which is a crime. These same police officers and detectives are now being allowed to go before Judge Pavia and all the judges underneath her and sign again, requesting arrest warrants, knowing their untruthfulness.
Okay, I thank you. I thank you for having the opportunity to review your written testimony, and thank you for coming here today.
Further questions or comments from the committee? Further questions or comments? Senator Winfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say to the witness that there is a period of time between now and when we vote on this. I think sometimes witnesses come before us and aren't sure it means anything. If someone brings something before this committee, we will look to see if there is evidence of what they are suggesting and what that actually entails. So I just want you to know that we take seriously anything that's brought before us, even if it's a small piece of a total picture. I think that's important for you to know going away. I just want to ask you one question. I think you referred to a case that was overturned, and I just want to be sure what you're saying to the committee. Are you suggesting that the overturning of a judge's case is problematic, or that particular case? They're two different things.
No, I'm saying of that particular case, because in those two cases, again, she took, there were motions filed in those cases, and you guys can research them as well. She's taking the word over the police. That's all she seems to do. She doesn't see anything wrong in what the police are doing. And if we're all going for police accountability, it should start with the judges that are in direct contact with them, of making them accountable.
Okay, I appreciate your testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? Seeing none. Ms. Moore, I want to thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. God bless.
That concludes our list of speakers for our public hearing portion. So at this point, we are going to call this public hearing to a close. I am going to convene our Judiciary Committee. I'm going to convene our Judiciary Committee meeting for January 13th, 2023. All right, let me do that again so we make sure we have a clean record. I'm going to convene the Judiciary Committee meeting for January 13, 2023. We are going to stand in recess. And there's going to be caucuses. I believe the Republicans will be caucusing in room 2600.